Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting, thrill-packed edition of the Jim Cornette Experience. Today, what has turned my stomach, the food I ate or the wrestling I watched? We're going to talk about the comedic stylings of AEW and the WWE and cover the dark side of Missy Hyatt right here today. And joining me for all this and more, Hawaiian Brian, the podcasting lion, the king of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network, Mr. Co-host to you. He's a big swig of Pepto-Bismol for the podcasting world's nauseated ears. Be great, Brian Last.
Aloha, Jim. A pleasure to be here once again. We've got a packed show. We've got a lot of things to get to, a lot of things to talk about. I'm looking forward to this.
Well, I'm glad you are. Because how do I sound? Do I sound under the weather? Does my voice sound? I've been gargling bleach. That's what it feels like. I don't know whether I poisoned myself with all the nasty food that's around or whether I can't eat like I used to, Brian. Here I am, a shriveled up old man, 188 pounds, and I can't put it away like I used to. You've seen me eat in the past.
I have.
Would you say that it was an ugly sight to behold?
You know, you want to talk to the man. You also don't want to watch him eat, but there may only be time while he's eating. And yeah, it's a very greasy experience.
It's a greasy experience. Well, I had been eating light all week because the puppies have been so just lovable and gorgeous that I haven't had time to just scarf my face like I used to. But last night I told Stace, I said, I'm starving. I want some burgers and fucking tater tots and cheese curds from Freddy's Steak Burgers. And she had me a big old sack of my normal order delivered over here, and I scarfed through that whole thing. And I went to bed feeling just fine. And I woke up inadvertently and unwillingly at 5:30 this morning, sleeping on my stomach when I belched, and a wide variety of liquid acid came up from my stomach through my throat and out into my mouth, and I jumped up in a coughing fit and throat burning and trying to guzzle any kind of cold drink to wash that shit down. And all morning, I felt like I'd eaten a wet pillow and sucked on a goddamn charcoal brick. From just a mere couple of triple bacon cheese steak burgers from Freddy's and an order of tater tots and some cheese curds dipped in ranch dressing. Just something that everybody would eat every day.
The number 3. You sound all right. I mean, other than, the fire breathing or whatever you're doing right now, I think you've sounded pretty good so far.
Well, I thought this might be the end. This might be the big one, I thought. By God, I've gargled Drano in my sleep somehow, and now it's coming back up. But it could have been the food. The food may have been tainted. Brian, have you seen the news lately? Past few weeks, everything's got recalled. The blueberries may be fatal. The fucking sourdough bread may have glass in it. Have you?
Oh, I did not hear that. What?
Wait.
The blueberries thing I know about because I'm a big blueberries fan. Whenever they're in the news, Suzanne sends it to me. And that was frozen blueberries from Publix, so I'm safe.
I've been a big fucking blueberries fan too, since, Eric Carmen.
It's the raspberries. Give me a break now.
Oh, well, You
always go all the way. But
nevertheless, no. You haven't even delved into this right now. There is a list, and if you go to it, I'm telling the people this as a guy, not the people around the world that live in normal, sane countries like goddamn El Salvador. I'm talking about here in the United States where we have crackpots in charge of the fucking health and safety of our residents now. If you go to FDA.gov, which stands for Food and Drug Administration, FDA.gov has a list of all of the foods and drugs that are recalled and have been in the last, I don't know how long, for problems. Would you like to hear of what just in the last couple weeks was some of the things that have been recalled for problems, Brian?
Well, I don't know. I got a lot of things in the fridge, but why don't we try this?
Well, the potato sourdough bread from Grand Central Bakery may contain pieces of metal. We start there. Do you like veggie chips and broccoli florets and cauliflower, Brian?
Veggie chips are all right every now and then, and the actual vegetables, I don't know what exactly you just named here, but some.
Well, we're okay. We're okay unless it's got undeclared gluten. That's not too bad.
I don't need to be gluten free. I'm a glutton for gluten.
Okay, you're a glutton for gluten. How about the Outshine fruit bars from Dreyer's brand ice cream?
I know that company, Dryers, but I do not know these fruit bars. No.
Yeah, the fruit bars, they're like juice that's frozen into like popsicles. You'd get them for your kids, and along with the fruit and the juice, they've got glass particles.
Jesus.
Let's see. Pepper jalapenos from Dairyland Produce have salmonella, and Nature Best pico de gallo stuffed mushrooms and soup mix containing them too. That contains jalapeno. They got salmonella.
Oh, come on.
Wait a minute. I got to go to page 2.
Page 2? How many pages are there?
Well, hold on. I'll go down to the bottom. It tells me. Well, the last number is 103. There's 1,025 entries on what is.
Holy shit! They're all active.
Well, I haven't gone to page 103 yet, but I'm just at last week so far on page 2. Granola's got salmonella. Salad dressing got salmonella.
Oh, no.
The tomato bisque soup from Market Side. That's, I believe, is that Sam's Club or is that Costco? Market Side. Well, it's got listeria.
That's great.
They had a picture the other day on Twitter. I retweeted of the tomato soup bowl and a picture of RFK Jr. and said tomato soup recalled for listeria. I said, which is the tomato soup, on the left or on the right? Because they both look the same. Whole Foods, dips, salsa, guacamole, and more containing jalapeno may have salmonella. You got a lot of salmonella. A lot of salmonella. He's popular around here.
Well, that's
page
like the classic.
3.
That's like the old school classic, I think.
What is endotoxin?
That don't sound good.
There's an elevated level of that in your compounded glutathione drug. I don't know what that treats, but if you're taking it, you don't need the endotoxins. Good Lord. Due to reports of difficulty removing the obturator, the intraosseous vascular access system needle sets have been recalled.
The what?
The Ucrops Homestyle Foods baked spaghetti and bread pudding have potential for presence of aluminum slivers from the pans that they were prepared in.
Oh, that's great. Thankfully, I don't know a lot of these brands and a lot of these products you've named, but a few of them are a little close to home.
Oh, well, here you got the Greenwise frozen blueberries. They got from Publix, E. coli. Particulate matter and some more drugs and foods and some more salmonella and soft plastic in the Pumpkin Tree Peter Rabbit organic banana and strawberry fruit puree pouches. That comes with plastic now, no extra charge on that. So you should go and just look at. I'm on page 6 and I'm only up to the first part of July on shit that's been recalled for glass and metal and poisons and toxins.
Is there a happy ending? Are we going to have a nice way to end this segment, or is it just going to be we're all going to die?
No, we're all going to die. But just don't eat anything, and you'll be all right. Well, except measles is back. You've seen this. Measles is back now and starting to get out of control. Again, when you put a fucking crackpot, roadkill eating ex-heroin addict with a brain worm in charge of public health. Who could have known that it would go wrong? And maybe that the Cro-Magnon cocksuckers not getting themselves or their snotty-nosed children vaccinated because they believe in these maggot morons instead of the public health officials like their doctors. Who wants to go out in public to the restaurant to get the poisonous food when you got to interact with these people? The adults will give you COVID and the kids will give you measles. I'm waiting for polio and smallpox.
Robert F. Kennedy's kind of Vince McMahon's protocol of the 80s proven right, or his way of thinking. All you need is a fake tan and some human growth hormone, and people will think you are healthy. People will listen to you. They'll think you know what you're talking about. He may be the most ignorant fucking idiot around today, and that's saying something. Crazy.
I mean, look at the competition.
It's crazy to anyone who looks at him and thinks this guy has any idea what he's talking about.
Hey, I'm following him for a healthy, fucking happy life, baby. Anyway, so my puppies are healthy and they don't have polio or smallpox. So I'll be associating with them while the rest of the world gets their shit straightened out. But that's the happy ending.
Will they be doing a run-in today, or are they working a different territory?
They're working out of the bottom level of the house today. They're very industrious. They've got several rugs they need to chew on, and they're behind with one of the corners. So they're getting to that while I'm recording today.
Back to developmental until they're ready.
Well, you know, they're busy kids. But nevertheless, while everybody's been poisoned and coming down with incurable illnesses that were curable up until a few weeks ago, I understand that to lift us out of this malaise that we're all in, am I to understand that Vince Russo is now been reduced to humiliating himself to guest spots at outlaw mud show baseball games where he crawls on his knees and begs for bananas?
It's a crazy sentence you just spat out, and all of it appears to be true based on video evidence alone.
There's video, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. And a lot of people, a ton of fucking people, just felt the need to send this over. Thankfully, that's starting to die down now. The Savannah Bananas, who are a Georgia-based independent baseball team that are more theatrical than sports-based wrestling, I guess you could say. They are out there. They are a draw. They are an attraction. When they're here in this area, their tickets are hard to get. They're a big deal. And apparently they hit Colorado. And when all the other celebrities are on vacation, who do you call? The man who's sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring.
Well, yeah, to be fair, you can tell that the announcer, or the guy who is also serving as an announcer, I don't know what his other responsibilities may be within the Banana organization, he had something to do with this, because you can tell he knows who Russo is. But judging from the video, I don't know that a lot of the fans of the Bananas that were in the seats that night really understood the magnitude of him. But was this, I knew Russo's always been a baseball mark, right? And that's what he could sit and talk to Kevin Dunn because they spent more time thinking about baseball than they did about the goddamn sport that they were operating, which, by the way, neither one of them considered a sport. But I didn't know that was this a paid gig? Did he legitimately get down on his hands and knees and crawl around just for the thrill of doing it, for the love of the game? Or do you think they paid him something to debase himself in front of a bunch of strangers that had no idea who the fuck he was?
I wouldn't think they paid him. You don't get paid to throw out the first pitch of the game, and They have other people come on the field, fans participate in stuff. I don't think anyone gets paid, but
do they normally have people blindfold themselves and crawl around looking for a golden banana as part of the
I don't know.
Pre-game pitch ceremony, or is that?
I don't know. It sounds like an award he should win for this, the golden banana. I don't know if that's a regular part of it, but they're a theatrical team. They have a baseball player who plays on stilts. They have a guy who, when he catches the ball in the outfield, always times it to do a backflip. So, I mean, it's all about the show more than the baseball.
More than the baseball. So he fits right in here with his line of thinking.
It's baseball entertainment.
But this is on Facebook. You've sent me the clip of this that people have been sending in to our offices here. And they bring him out on the field, this guy in this tuxedo apparatus, who apparently is the only person in the entire facility that knows who Vince Russo is. And they apparently throw out the opening banana. That makes sense. But is this something they just made him do, Brian? Do you know, or do they do this with everybody, that before the person throws the golden banana, they got to get down, they got to blindfold themselves, get down on their hands and knees, and crawl around the field trying to find the banana, listening to the cheers of the crowd to guide them like it's a blindfold match, which is probably another reason that they thought of Vince Russo. The only thing they didn't do was put it on a pole.
They should have put it on a pole. I was about to say that it really would have been fitting.
But the thing is, could he climb a pole blindfold? Could he climb a pole?
Hey, listen,
much less blindfold.
You saw that video. Vince Russo, although not always an on-air performer, he was in WCW, but you saw him on, Bite This, and you've seen him, forget about interviews, just as a TV performer.
I'm watching him now, crawling on his hands and knees. The only thing they didn't ask him to do was bark like a dog.
Well, here's the question. Have you ever seen Vince Russo that happy? Ever? In any situation before?
He's ecstatic. He's ecstatic that he's crawling around like a blindfolded Newfoundland, trying to find what looks like a big fucking hot dog that he would chow down on, but is in reality a golden banana. And the sound goes in and out on this clip. Yeah, it didn't appear when he was introduced that the crowd was particularly impressed by his presence, but when he finds this fucking golden banana, he jumps up like he's just won the lottery. And then he is attempting to throw oh my God. He didn't throw the banana like you would throw a baseball. He threw it like, I don't know, Pocahontas, if she was 6 years old, would throw her toy tomahawk. Would that be a good description, Brian? Or he didn't even get it to the plate. How can you not get a goddamn fake banana to the plate?
Well, we don't know how much air is going into it, if it's like a wiffle banana or a...
There wasn't any effort that went into it. He was a whoosh.
Well, he's not known for his athletic ability. No one's ever said that. Vince Russo sucks at booking, but man, he could throw a baseball.
I'm just thinking maybe this was what he did in the booking meetings. Blindfold himself, crawl around on his hands and knees until he picked up the first idea he found.
And he pointed to something, and when he heard Dixie pop, that's what he said. That's it. That's it. He jumped up.
That's it.
Did the Hulk Hogan ear thing.
All right. Well, oh, wait a minute. The description of this. Apparently, the banana host is also a pro wrestling announcer. Oh, that's how he got booked.
There we go.
And that's why, and wouldn't you know who put it up on Facebook? The fucking pro wrestling announcer, now that I'm looking at this more closely.
See, that's the thing. Like I was saying, Vince Russo has been, in his life, a television performer for a very limited period of time. So it's not like, here is Father James Mitchell, just to throw a name out there, someone who's been on TV, like Russo's not a television guy. He was a behind the scenes guy at best. So why would he? Why would they?
But
use
he
him?
impressed the guy that books the talent, hosts the show, and puts the clips up on Facebook.
Maybe it was a quid pro quo kind of thing. Like, you let me throw the banana, I'll book you with the clowns.
Well, maybe it was, hey, you let me crawl around on my hands and knees in front of people, and I'll let you crawl around on your hands and knees in front of me later.
It could be anything. I mean, the options are limitless.
Limitless, literally.
Yeah, limitless.
All righty then. But I like the announcer's jacket. It looks like Aunt Lola's couch cover.
This has been Sports News.
Well, I'm glad to see that our friend Vinny Rue is, at least he's getting booked. Because I was worried about him there for a while. How was he going to feed his saint of a wife and those Howlett to Moon kids? Anyhow, I'm trying to find, I have to flatten out one of my emails. Buddy got a hold of it. He thought it tasted good. We got an email from Tyler on August 19th, which is past now, unfortunately, because that was a couple of days ago. But it was his grandmother's 87th birthday. And recently she was riding in the car as I was taking her. This is what Tyler's saying, as I was taking her to some doctor's appointments. And I had your podcast on when she entered the car. She mentioned, that sounds like Jim Cornette speaking. I told her it was, and you have a couple of podcasts, and she was thrilled to know that you were still around. I wonder if she was one of the old girls at the matches back in my day, Brian. She's 87 and she's amazed I'm still around. The fuck is happening? And involved in wrestling in some way. I guess you could call this some way. She loved watching you on TV in the 80s and 90s. Sometimes she would cheer and other times boo, but either way, she'd enjoy it. She enjoyed it. So I was wondering if you could wish her a happy birthday, and I wanted to thank you for making her day. Well, thank you, Tyler, and happy birthday, Granny, who Tyler never once in this whole goddamn email mentioned your name.
Happy birthday.
But also, he apologizes because he had written in before. We talked about the hospital in Ohio that he was driving his son back and forth to, and we chastised him for not mentioning the hospital location. It's in Columbus. Now we're chastising you for not giving us your grandmother's name. But his son, Tyler's son, has a surgery coming up in September. He's going to be in the hospital in Columbus for 2 weeks. So everybody send flowers and get well wishes addressed to Tyler's son at the hospital in Columbus, Ohio. I'm sure they'll make it.
All right.
Do you have the zip code for Columbus?
I don't. I don't have any information. Tyler,
I think you can go to the post office and probably look that up.
Yeah, Tyler, send in more information here.
And also Joe from Erie, Pennsylvania wrote in, and this is sad. I won't read the whole thing, but he lost Hank, his 7-year-old little puppy dog, a few weeks ago, and it was unexpected and sudden, but nevertheless, we wanted to send our well wishes out to Joe and his family about Hank. He says, tell everybody, please enjoy every moment you have with your fur babies, because in reality, they are only on loan to us. And that's a good sentiment. Once again, animals are much better than people. They'll never fucking stab you in the back. I'd like to thank Stephen from Statesboro, Georgia. And he has not got the Statesboro blues, but he did get me a raccoon t-shirt. It's hard to describe, Brian.
Is it made out of raccoon fur?
No, it's a t-shirt with a picture of a raccoon on it. He says, my name is Stephen. I'm originally from Belleville, Michigan, but these days I live in Statesboro, Georgia with my wife, Marcy, our 2 dogs, and 8 cats. And I spent 7 years in Savannah while serving at Hunter Army Airfield. And I'm a 100% medically retired Army veteran. And I like supporting veteran-owned companies like 9 Line Apparel. So when I walked into their Savannah store and saw the enclosed shirt, I immediately started laughing. Not because it's tactical, not because it's a raccoon, because my mind immediately went to the rabid raccoon story. Remember, we've had issues with raccoons here in the past. Well, it's a raccoon in tactical gear with a big gun and all that. It's coming to get me. But thank you, Stephen from Statesboro, Georgia. Got the Statesboro Blues. I gotta read Rob's email because he had a bad week last week now. Brian, this is probably the worst week he's had, I would say, of all. He died. That right there will kill your whole week.
And he emailed?
Yes, he emailed after it was over with.
Please continue, please.
Well, I just wanted to let you know. As I write this email to you, dear Jim, he said, Rob from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. I'm sitting in my living room chair for the first time in over a week. Long story short, I died last week. Long story a little less shorter. Last Tuesday at 3:38 a.m. in the morning, I awoke on my couch, unable to breathe. I was able to call my wife Stephanie upstairs, and she came right down to my aid as I was about to fall and turn blue. The epitome of awesomeness in my eyes, she saved my life. She gave me CPR and kept me awake until the ambulance arrived. After I coded and got revived by the EMTs, I wound up in the hospital completely out of it and on a ventilator for almost 3 days, and stayed there for days after, waking up and being taken off the ventilator, dealing with the joys of a catheter, various drugs, and a liquid diet. So this is the second almost life-ending emergency I've encountered in the last month, and every time I listen to the drive-through and the experience just to keep myself calm whilst I was being poked, prodded, probed, and pissed off. Well, Rob, I think the first thing you need to do is move out of fucking Wilkes-Barre, because apparently they don't know what the fuck is wrong with you. Go to Pittsburgh, for God's sake. Well, wait a minute. What am I saying? Pittsburgh. You know what? Go to Switzerland. They probably got good medical clinics over there these days. Anyway, I'm sure you'll join me, Brian, in wishing Rob all the best the next time he dies.
Rob, I hope your next death is the best death yet. No, but live a long time. You set me up to really just sound like a horrible person.
Well, no, I know. You've done that for yourself. You've done that for yourself years ago, Brian.
Hey, that's not nice. Don't die, Rob. I think that's what we're trying to say here. Live long and download the show.
What I have lost, or possibly not.
You've lost it, all right. I think we could all agree on that.
No, I had something else. Oh, thank you. See, here's another piece of paper. Not you.
Oh.
Thank you, Ryan from Kewanee, Wisconsin. And I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to try to tell you what Ryan sent me here this past week. You know, the ducks that you see, like everybody has a little duck, but it's like a duck, like a celebrity, or a duck, like, you know, a wrestler or an actor or whatever the case. Little ducks. Do you know what I'm talking about? The ducks like you have in the bathtub. Little ducks.
Rubber duckies?
Rubber duckies. You're the one, rubber ducky. You're so much fun, rubber ducky. You know what I'm talking about. It's a fad now. They got like the Funko Pops. They got the little ducks.
That was in your vocal range. That was pretty good.
Well, there you go. You know what I'm saying about the ducks. You can visualize. I'm not leaving people in limbo about these ducks.
You can get the duck out of here. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Well, guess what he said? He sent me a giant fucking duck, not a little duck, a giant corny duck. He started a 3D printing business, and this thing is as big as a medicine ball, just almost as big as a bread box. And it's me in my red and yellow suit with the racket and the fucking, I've even got a handkerchief in my pocket, and I'm a duck, but it's huge. And he sent me also pictures. 7 years ago, he was in a big tractor trailer wreck. Actually sent pictures of the news report of the tractor trailer wreck. And he was in a wheelchair for 3 years, 9 surgeries. but he's out of the wheelchair. He's better now. He's all right now, but last year he's in rough shape. And he started a 3D printing business, and he has donated 800 of these little duckies, the ducklings, to St. Vincent Children's Hospital in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So he's trying to give back now that he's doing better, and he escaped the chair. But I got my own corny duck, and it's a fucking giant. You would need to go to a goddamn municipal swimming pool to find enough water for this thing to float in. You think he's trying to tell me I need to take more baths?
He's trying to be a nice friend to you, but you could probably use an extra bath or two.
A charitable duck donator is what he is. All right, here is an email from another member of Brian from Chicago. And this is once and for all settling a fucking discussion we've had, not a controversy, but just questions. Why does Mystico come out with that rotten, stinking song that he comes out to that sounds like Barry Manilow on helium? Would you like to get the straight stories directly from Brian from Chicago?
Yes, let's get this story for the record. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. In its environment, it's a very cool thing to see.
It's the most rotten wrestling entrance music that has ever been perpetrated on society.
Bastion Booger.
At least that fit the gimmick.
Come on.
Seriously, it fit his gimmick.
Mystico's gimmick is that he's a masked man of the people, and the people like that song and getting emotional.
The only reason he's using that fucking song is because he was in the music video. That's why the egotistical moron's using that song. Here, let Brian tell us. He says, "Good afternoon, Corny and Brian. I'm from Chicago, but I'm a Spanish-speaking Mexican-American. To get straight to the point, Mystico's entrance theme, Mi Muro, by La Quinta Estacion, is a love song about yearning for someone's presence and affection. Mi Muro translates to I'm dying, as in I'm dying to see you again. Admittedly, its only connection to Mystico is his appearance all over the music video. It's an enjoyable song with emotional vocals, especially to Spanish speakers. However, Brian is right by saying the impact can depend on the location it's played. Mexico City was the prime place to use the track, but other places may be questionable. Somewhere like Texas may be in the middle due to the high Hispanic population, but I wouldn't bet money on a sing-along in a small white redneck town. Sorry that the song was not about donkey dick, but hey, maybe the singer was also dying to see some donkey dick again.
What?
And it was just left on the cutting room floor."
All right, this email took a turn.
Well, don't you remember I said this fucking song could be about donkey dicks for all we know? We don't know what song's about.
I think if that song was about donkey dicks, there would be such a controversy before the point we heard it that it would stop it from being aired, played, streamed.
Well, maybe the donkey lobby.
The donkey lobby.
The donkey lobby was for it, giving more love to the donkeys. I don't know. Anyway.
I guess they get out of paying a royalty, maybe. Maybe that's like the deal. He was in the video, so now we get to use this song without paying you any money forever.
Why don't then they use Send in the Clowns to open up every Wednesday night's Dynamite? Because it wouldn't really fit. Well, it would fit, but it wouldn't fit in their eyes. That the song is Drek to get an English-speaking audience excited about seeing this fucking guy. Because when they hear that, they go, "What the fuck is this all about?" And even if it was a hot song in Mexico, if he was fighting in the UFC, would he come out to his love song for a fight?
If he was fighting
somebody
in the UFC,
put him
the UFC has a lot of problems.
Well, just somebody put him in a video over there that would be good entrance music so he can switch that. Anyhow,
Hey, Jim, speaking of AEW, I have some AEW news if you'd like it.
Oh boy. I would like almost anything more, but I'll take it.
Well, this is the headline in Forbes, on Forbes. It's a website. I don't have a magazine in front of me. AEW Fight Forever flopped with a reported $30 million in losses.
Oh.
I'll stop there for a moment before I go any further, because when it was in real time, we talked about it a lot. When it was in production, we talked about it a lot. The costs and how many tens of millions was Tony spending, because he would have had to have been spending that much based on what we heard.
And our friend Kenny was in, because he was a big video game expert, because he played a lot of them. That's like getting Dick Murdoch to fly your 747 because he made 175 trips to Japan. But I digress. Do you with losses like that, would it have been better for Tony to say, Kenny, here's $5 million for you not to do the video game for us? He would have come out ahead, wouldn't he?
I think if he said, Kenny, here's $5 million to burn on live TV, he would have come out ahead. Better than this. Let me go to this article here, and it has quotes from another source. This is by Alfred Kanua. AEW Fight Forever came and went following its release in 2023. The video game rollout, led by current AEW World Champion Kenny Omega, was marred with reports of going over budget, with costs reaching 1.5 to 2 times the original estimate. Now, gaming journalist Mike Shaw, no relation.
I was about to say, is he any relation to Bastion Booger?
Gaming journalist Mike Shaw of Insider Gaming is delivering sober news about the Fight Forever flop that most dirt sheet journalists were afraid to even broach, given their ethically eye-rolling loyalty to Tony Khan and their access to AEW. Mike Shaw reported that AEW Fight Forever lost upwards of $30 million. Straw. It said Shaw up here. Now it says Straw. Is it Straw or Shaw? Either way, Forbes needs a proofreader.
Well, maybe he's changing his name to keep ahead of Tony Khan.
Mike Straw reported it lost $30 million. Straw noted that AEW does not have an agreement in place with Ukes, the developer of Fight Forever, and
these two Ukes,
and does not believe there will be a follow-up to AEW.
Your
Fight
Honor,
Forever.
These two Ukes.
Let me go to the quote here from Mike.
I'm about to say, he doesn't think there's going to be a follow-up to the $30 million fucking money pit? How can you lose $30 million on something and not follow it up to see if you can lose more?
Well, let's go to the quote here, and it says Shaw again, so it was Straw twice, and now it's Shaw twice. We'll see what happens in the end. Speaking with sources who were privy to the information, Fight Forever was a massive loss for AEW. That shouldn't come as a surprise, but just how much they lost might shock people. They lost, according to those I spoke with, at least $30 million. That's due to development deadlines being missed, leading to internal delays, and ultimately external delays. As I had reported, the original time to release the game was in 2022. It didn't come out until near Forbidden Door 2023, leading to a lot of extra time in development, and when games take that long, they cost more to make. It goes back to Alfred Kanua here, and it says, AEW's Fight Forever release was a bittersweet moment given the struggles to get to market, and many top stars were omitted, I remember this, from the game due to deadline issues. These stars included the Acclaimed, FTR, Tony Storm, Claudio Castagnoli, Danhausen, and Swerve. Some stars were added to the game via post-launch DLC packs. Jim, remember, I don't know how much of this is public, but when the FTR Kenny Omega shit was going on, it all kind of was around this video game and the comments made to them by Kenny about the... So there was a lot of shit, a lot of drama.
This was when Omega was about to crack up, right?
Or was in the midst of cracking
according to some reports.
Or was in the midst of it. But let's go back to the quote here from John Shaw, or Mike Shaw. And now I'm getting his first name wrong. This poor man who's worked so hard in his life to get any attention, and here we are killing him. Here's his quote. It also did not sell all that well. They had expectations, but from what I've been told, it got roughly half of what their expectations were. I don't have exact numbers, but the words I was told was, we sold about half of what we were expecting, leading to a big reason why we lost so much. Now, as to the future of AEW games, they are interested in it. They are interested in revisiting it. But they are going to do it way down the line. I don't think there's anything close. The sources I spoke to said there's nothing imminent right now. There are rumblings that they had talked to a third party about potentially a licensing deal that way for a game, but when I reached out to AEW sources on that, they told me no. And they didn't fucking know anything about it. So who knows what's going on with that, but I think all those rumblings can be put to rest, as the person who told me this, the main source, would have direct knowledge of any licensing or agreement deals that the company would sign. So there are the $30 million for a startup company to spend on that video game, which I'm pretty sure we said it live, but we weren't unique. You could have predicted that they were going to lose money. You could have predicted that it wasn't going to sell well. You could have predicted that Kenny Omega was going to fuck up multiple times in the process. And every one of those things happened. You know, this is one of those things where people talk about AEW's losses. We always said, we don't know how much the video game lost. We don't know how much AEW is really making, and we certainly don't know how much they lost. And it seems...
Well, and that was 3 years ago now. And remember, at the time, if you can't sell a video game to that audience, what audience can you sell a video game to? But at the time, everybody was saying, well, this thing sucks. And guys were like falling through the middle of the ring and shit.
Yeah, it was glitchy. They released a game that wasn't finished. They finally just had to get it out, and it wasn't ready. And they said that, oh, there'll be things you could download to fix it. That never happened. The game was discounted to like $5 at one point we saw. It didn't sell even at that rate. People got sick of the game who played the game. But again, just the idea, it wasn't $30 million payable when the game was finished. It was money being lost all along the way. What if Tony didn't have that? What if it wasn't an early priority because Kenny Omega liked video games, that we have to have a video game so Kenny could do that? It just seems like that was a colossal waste of time. You brought up Kenny cracking up. It did not do good for Kenny Omega's psyche based on anything anyone who works there has ever said about how Kenny Omega was during that period of time. But $30 million, that's crazy.
Well, and think about this. Again, it boils down to no other person in the history of the world besides Tony Khan would ever have spent this much money. WCW lost $60 million as an entire company in 2000 that led them to the fire sale in 2001, and Turner Broadcasting said, get this fucking thing off our books. They lost $30 million just on a goddamn video game. One element of the overall business they were doing.
One facet.
Which was still in the hole at that point. And actually, I say still in the hole at that point, since nobody knows the figures except Tony and Dave, who gets told the figures and then reports them. Even if they are making, this is what a lot of people phrase improperly and don't understand. Even if they're making a profit now, which is yet to be determined, with the immense cost of these salaries and this giant roster and obviously the other things that Tony spends money on that no other promoters ever spent money on. Remember when he said he got the song for one night, it was a year's salary for a wrestler. But boy, it sure was cool when Bryan Danielson could come out to the whatever.
And then he did it again. That wasn't the only time he used the Final Countdown.
Yes. But I'm just saying, all of this expense, all of it, they're renting Wembley Stadium. Even if they're making a profit now based on their rights fees and the other things they're taking in, how long will it take them to actually make a profit on the venture, to make up for all the money that was spent over the first several years of getting this to where it is now? And is that even a thing that potentially could be conceivable to do in our lifetimes? $30 million lost just on a fucking video game. And for any other company in history, that have folded up right there.
That is crazy the way you just put it, comparing it to the losses for WCW, that put it to the point where the people at TBS were able to get it shut down and able to sell it, get rid of it. AEW lost half of that on this game.
Vince McMahon, when he lost $5 million for the first money loss ever in 1995, took the fucking water coolers off the goddamn fourth floor in the office, for fuck's sake. It was goddamn panic. That's why J.J. Dillon left eventually, and Lord Al Hayes walked out, and I think only Bruce stayed because he cut all the fucking wrestling people's salaries. They lost $5 million on the entire company for an entire year. This guy loses $30 million on a fucking video game. I don't want to hurt Kenny's feelings.
And it's done. It's not like it's anything they could build upon or technology they can or will use again. It's a sunk cost. It's just dead and gone, and no one's looking for it to come back. So, complete blown opportunity.
But you know what they could have done, Brian? What they could have, instead of putting Kenny in charge, because you need experience, you need professionals, you need people that know what they're doing. If they wanted to do anything in the way of the computerized modern society we live in today, they shouldn't have gone to Kenny. They should have gone to our friends at Shopify. Why in the world did they not think of that? Because Shopify is where you go to start your business with everything you already need from day one. Shopify is the thing that removes your excuses for not getting started on your path to greatness and to being an entrepreneur and a big business typhoon. If you've been sitting on a business idea right there, all the typhoons ring bells. If you've been sitting on a business idea, Shopify makes it easy to make it happen. Everything you need to start selling is included and ready from day one with their experts and their backup and their 24/7 customer support. They could walk you through it. They could have made a video game, I bet you, for AEW that would have been better than what AEW got. Or they could have just made Kenny a website where he could sell elderberries, and they wouldn't have lost $30 million. Because every time an elderberry gets its wings, a bell rings. That's what I've always heard. Because Shopify handles the setup and the checkout, you, ladies and gentlemen, have more time to focus on growing your business, and you've got the tools to do it, because Shopify powers millions of businesses worldwide, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark. Is Gymshark a name in your household, Brian?
Gymshark? No.
No, not Gymshark. Gymshark, G-Y-M, Shark. They supply
Sam
sharks
Hill.
to gyms.
I didn't know.
Well, that's when you don't want to work out real hard, they put you over the shark tank and make you climb the fucking ladder, or elsewise you'll be eaten by sharks. That's how they motivate you. But Shopify, it isn't just going to sick the sharks on you. They're for small businesses just getting started. We're little minnows in the game. And that's what you need, folks. Whether you're a minnow or a shark, you need a big tank. And nothing holds more water than my statement that Shopify will help you become a multi-gajillionaire. With Shopify, nothing stands between your idea and a real business. So go ahead and make it one. And start your free trial today. It's free now. They used to charge $1, but we talked them out of that. And now if you go to shopify.com/JCE, and use that code JCE, you're going to get a free trial. Well, hell, ding dong dandy. It ain't going to cost you anything. And, afterwards, if you want to steal some of Shopify's ideas, if you think you can get away with it, well, then you just screw them over and say, well, thank you. I've got it all figured out now. And you'll find out you don't. But you stick with Shopify, and they're going to take you to the promised land. They're going to take you to Wonderland. They're going to take you to Shangri-La. Shangri-La, Iowa, population 16. Shopify.com/JCE. Have you rung that sale up yet, Brian?
I've not rung up any I've rung
there
it up.
It is.
I've rung it up.
Shopify.com/JCE.
Shopify.
Well, Brian, I tell you what, I know somebody else that might want to get in a new line of work here pretty soon. They're going to be short some money. Is the New York Times, of all people, have been taken down by our friend Stephen P. New. It's all over the news in West Virginia and Alabama, probably in New York, that the lawsuit that Stephen has been involved with on behalf of one of the University of Alabama basketball players has finally been resolved, and Stephen and his team have secured a $9.25 million federal jury verdict against the New York Times. It's the first time they've lost a defamation suit in over 50 years at the New York Times. And it was stupid. They had the opportunity. What was it Stephen said when he was on the show here one time? I will give any man one chance to do the right thing, and then I will fuck him up. Well, he gave him a chance. The whole thing was stupid. They had reported on an incident that took place with some of the University of Alabama basketball players that were on the scene of a deadly shooting. And this kid, Kai Spears, who retained Stephen, came the next day to the jail to visit or see or help bail out or whatever one of his teammates. He wasn't involved in the thing. He wasn't even there. But he just came to the jail, and the fucking reporter saw him walking out of the jail and listed him as one of the players that have been involved in this thing and basically defamed him. And the timeline was that when Stephen got contacted, right, his father is the kid's father is a athletic director at Marshall University there in West Virginia. And within an hour of the time that this story came out in the newspaper, he had called Stephen, and Stephen called and said, hey, this is bullshit. And they wouldn't take it down. They wouldn't retract it. Well, they corrected the report later on after the suit was filed, but too late for that. So chalk another one up for Stephen P. New. And there's a little weasel that we haven't mentioned for a while out in, he may not be, well, he's probably not in California anymore since he's on the run from things, but
Missouri.
We do. Missouri now, we've got him pinned down, but we haven't been speaking about that because how do I say this without ruining anything? When a motherfucker is sitting there on the sidewalk punching his own self in the face over and over, why do you want to walk up and start hitting him? Let him just go to town. So we haven't been mentioning, but the more that this goes on, the better the story gets.
I could say just a little bit about this, and this will be a brief update, and I apologize. I know a lot of people want more Kast Media, Colin Thomson, PodcastOne updates, but due to the status of our ongoing litigation, we have to be a little silent about things now, but I can say a few things. One, we have a jury trial in 2027. They fought us on it. They did not want there to be a jury. We have a jury trial in 2027. Stephen P. New just beat the New York Times, and their vast legal team and the incredible amount of money they could throw at their legal team. He is I'll just say he's very ready and very confident for PodcastOne and Colin Thomson. And the only other thing I could say, because this is a public filing, you may remember we were very involved in the bankruptcy of Kast Media. Kast Media's bankruptcy plan was finally approved by Judge Martin Barish, despite our legal team explaining pretty explicitly how the plan couldn't work, how the money won't be there, how the projections were bullshit, etc., etc. Well, as of the July 15th quarterly report, because there's supposed to be quarterly checks to creditors, the check didn't come because Kast Media can't pay its bills once again. They're behind on, $25,000 behind delinquent on their legal fees for the bankruptcy to Leslie Cohn. They don't owe the trustee any money. Who else do they owe money to? They owe the IRS $13,000 right now they're delinquent on, $2,000 to the city of Los Angeles.
This is all public record, by the way.
Oh, yeah. $23,000 behind to Class 3 creditors. And, of course, claims that things will be better. It's only going to get worse. This is exactly what we told the judge would happen, and this is exactly what's happening, so stay tuned for more on the Kast Media bankruptcy. But we are very happy and very confident and thoroughly looking forward to our jury trial in California against Colin Thomson and against PodcastOne, who... You talk about just sitting back and letting someone punch themselves in the head and you'll wait until they're done. We can't wait. I wish it was a 2026 jury trial. It'll be in 2027, and it's going to be a party.
Is there an attorney? I was just going to say, is there an attorney in the state of California that has not already been retained by Kast Media and then bid them adieu in some fashion?
Well, more PodcastOne. That's more of a PodcastOne issue. It'll be interesting to see. I don't want to go into too much stuff right now other than to say it'll be very interesting to see who are the final lawyers on this case.
They can't field a team. He can't field a fucking team. Just come out and say it. He can't even field a fucking team to go out in the outfield and try to catch some of these fucking balls that are being winged at him.
Well, again, he's still fielding a team, Colin Thomson, but his team may have issues of their own, and then the PodcastOne team keeps changing their entire roster. We can't wait for this trial. Ladies and gentlemen, 2027 is going to be the year of the Jim Cornette experience. We can't wait for this fucking trial.
And I maybe they can get the Savannah Bananas to come in and field that team, or they can be the representation.
We're looking to bring Vince Russo in to throw out the golden banana to start the trial. We feel like it'll be a fitting way to start the trial, actually.
Poor Colin. He actually thought we were just going to get discouraged.
He didn't realize how much money there was. He didn't realize how we fight. He didn't realize that.
He didn't realize that this story is going to be so good for us to tell in public, if you will, after it's all over with, that he'll never be able to show his face outside some fucking far off island in the South Pacific where he goes to nurse his wounds.
All we've had to do is talk about his actual behavior and his actual words and his actual conduct. That's the beauty of it. We haven't had
And he keeps giving us more of all of those.
Stay tuned. Maybe a while, but stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen.
It's long-term storytelling. All right. Speaking of long-term storytelling, our friends over at Dark Side of the Ring have done some more. They have told the 40-year history of Missy Hyatt, the Walking Riot, on the latest episode of Dark Side of the Ring. I gotta be honest, I knew Missy had a rough period there for a while, but I didn't know the extent of which she admitted that she was kind of fucked up in a variety of ways. So this was a lot of this was new to me. And I don't know about you, Brian, but I didn't never. In English, I didn't really know a lot about her early life, just that she had become a wrestling fan, had a crush on Tommy Rich. That she's told that story herself at her first match. And then, meeting Tatum and getting involved in the business. But there were more. She was apparently a spoiled child and admits it. I'm not talking behind her back. She said, I was a spoiled kid. I got anything I wanted. My father never said no. I wrecked 9 cars. But Jesus H. Christ. How do you wreck 9 cars?
And that's before she met Tommy Rich.
I was about to say, how do you wreck 9 cars before you get in the wrestling business? And also, how do you wreck 9 cars and still not come out with some kind of visible injury? Jiminy Pete. I wish as I always say, I love the Dallas footage and the UWF footage. I wish there was more of that. I wish they'd been able to show some of the full valet promos from Dallas, which that was the best Missy stuff. And you would kind of get, an idea of how she got that heat and why that whole thing was so over for a while there. But this show illustrated, Brian, tell me if I'm wrong, that it was almost like with Tammy, with Sonny. They both got in the business and got over in their various respective places and positions doing something. And then they got so overdoing that the big companies hired them and had them do absolutely none of the shit they did that got them over to begin with. Is this the same fucking thing?
I mean, there are differences, but there are a lot of similarities. I think Tammy was so spectacular as Tammy Fitch, I should say. Excuse me, I forgot her real name versus her gimmick name. It's Smoky Mountain.
And that was just because I couldn't understand her New Jersey accent when she told me what her last name was.
And as Sonny, she certainly was a really good performer. Missy was better. That's not to take anything away from Tammy, because I think Tammy as a performer was great. But Missy, pre-89, was dynamic. She was a knockout. No one else looked like her. There were other blondes. No one looked like Missy Hyatt. No one had the fucking boom boom. No one had it. No one.
The oomph. She was the it girl.
She was, WWE had Elizabeth, and Elizabeth was pretty massive for their audience. But Missy was, what boys dreamed of. I mean, Missy was, and
also, and to be honest, I'm sorry for all the people that I'm going to offend, but I always thought Elizabeth was, and I don't mean as a person, I mean she didn't do anything. She was a baby face that looked scared to be there and did nothing. And whether it was Missy or it was Sonny or whatever, they've got all this talent and they can talk and they can work ringside and they've got personality. And I know that was the spot that Elizabeth was put in, but sorry, never fucking got it.
One of the big differences, I'll say, although they both had boyfriends in the business, and, Missy had various guys, Sonny was pretty much, despite whatever she did on the side, it was her and Chris. But Missy went places with her boyfriends and was treated best, maybe you could say under Eddie, but even before that with John Tatum, when it was kind of a set thing. Once she didn't have that anymore, WCW really didn't know what to do with her. They made her a commentator. They tried to get her to lose her southern accent. I don't know if they said that in Dark Side, but they had her take classes to speak differently. And Missy, I don't know what I'm trying to, I guess that's kind of my point. Just Tammy, Chris followed Tammy. For a long time, Missy followed her boyfriends. And, I don't know if there's one thing leads to a different conclusion, because again, they were both big stars, but again, I'm just rambling at this point.
Well,
Missy was so good as Missy Hyatt from 85 to 88. It's one of the big shames of that period of time that from that point forward, no one did anything like that with her. Even ECW, she did nothing in ECW, and I was going to those shows. She was there.
Well,
but
honestly, at that point, she was impaired, as even she admitted. And I thought Paul probably wanted her on the card, wanted the name of Missy Hyatt, wanted the rub for Sandman or whatever, but couldn't depend. Imagine if you couldn't, if Paul with his roster, you couldn't depend on somebody or whatever, that may have been part of it. But that's the thing, is what you were trying to ramble about is it wasn't that Missy needed to follow her boyfriends, because.
But it opened the opportunity.
Well, no, here's the thing. Missy and Tatum at the time in the business, it was viewed as, what the fuck is she doing with him? because I mean, Tatum, I met him when he was Franklin Hayes. He was working some independent outlaw group at the time, one of the very few outlaw groups, but there was one in South Carolina. And I met him a couple of times when we lived at the Falcons Rest in Atlanta, summer of '83. This was pre-Missy with him. And, you know, he wanted to be Michael Hayes, because a lot of the Southern guys did that. Imagine people copying Flair, then copying Shawn, or now they copy whoever the fuck.
There used to be a rumor he was Michael Hayes' cousin. Remember that?
The rumor came directly from his gimmick, Franklin Hayes. I'm Michael Hayes' cousin. But the point is, he was okay for a territory, but it wasn't special. I'm sorry. And boy, when you see him in this show, I don't know was it the car wreck that caused him to look and speak like he did in this program, or you never know anymore. But at the time, is what I'm saying is, he was a guy. And a lot of guys in the business were like, Jesus Christ, you know, she's with him. When we found out she had got with Eddie, we're like, okay. Because Eddie was not only a fucking heck of a worker and coming into his own as a single heel, but also was starting to get booking positions, and had in Memphis, and was going to have the book there in the UWF at some point. Missy and Eddie looked like a better combination than Missy and Tatum, because Tatum was a guy that they got, you know, it was low budget fucking Freebird in Texas, right? But then she followed Eddie, but Eddie's problem was that he would get frustrated, pissed off. His, I don't know, everybody says bipolar. Mama Cornette used to just say, you know, he's a funny fella. So he was funny about things.
Paranoid.
Whatever. And when they got the chance to go to the WWF, Vince wanted her, and he was probably willing to book Eddie. Eddie'd been there before for Vince Sr., but it wasn't going to be anything that Eddie wanted to do, and he would have cracked up and left anyway.
Well, plus that's when, the way Eddie Gilbert told it in the Bob Barnett interview he did looking for Mr. Gilbert, and I've never heard it really disputed, was he was booking for Watts. Watts called him and was like, well, Eddie, it'd be a real shame for you to leave. I was thinking about giving you the book.
Yeah.
And that was like the one thing, you know, the only other thing that could have kept Eddie was, we're going to make you Jerry Lawler.
Yeah. Plastic surgery and everything. But that Missy said in this program that's when she knew that she and Eddie were going to split, but they were together for another like 2 or 3 years.
That was before they were married, right? Wasn't it?
Well, I'm pretty close, if not. But nevertheless, we're probably jumping ahead of ourselves.
Well, if I could just say a couple things.
All right. But the point I was going to make was that it wasn't she followed those guys because she needed them to get booked, but she was just loyal and going with them. And Eddie did know how to use her properly, but it was, she, like Sonny, got tremendously over as a heat-getting, bitchy, heel manager, valet, whatever you want to call them, that was unique, and they had something, and they could be put in a main event position without having to wrestle. And Missy never trained to wrestle, and neither did Sonny. They did a few matches, but they were more important than the girl wrestlers because they were the girl personalities. But they then tried to make them into interviewers, and just because in the big companies, nobody could get heat at that point in time because it was starting to be a bunch of phony bullshit. And they just wanted pretty girls on the show. So they gave them a bunch of shit to do that had nothing to do with how they got over. I'll get off the soapbox.
You know, it's great too, some of the world-class footage, and I could watch that stuff all day from that period of time. You know, they showed Missy, they showed Sunshine, they showed Precious. And then they showed Andrea the Lady Giant, the future baby doll, going at it with Stella Mae French. I was like, oh shit, yes. I need to watch this. Oh my God.
But the woman that dislocated my jaw fighting the woman that used to do my dry cleaning.
That's a real dream match right there. To go back to the beginning, here are two questions the show didn't address. I still have, and they're mysteries. One, she said she got into wrestling when Georgia Championship Wrestling was put on, and it was kind of Tommy Rich that pulled her in. I mean, that was her whole thing. There's always been a photo going around from one of the Apter mags or one of the Weston mags from the Pen Pal section. I think it's Melissa Hyatt, Pensacola or something like that. And a lot of people always thought it was her. Have you ever heard that?
Yes, I've seen the picture in the past, and I thought that it was too.
Likes good guys and bad guys? I mean, that was the joke everyone always made. It has to be her.
Well, yes, and that's what, she said. But see, she was watching Georgia wrestling on the cable. I think she's from Pensacola, I believe, or at least lived in Pensacola when she was a kid, but she was watching Georgia because it was on TBS.
Here's the other big mystery, because it wasn't addressed here, and I was really thinking, oh, they're going to have to talk about this. We know that she was with John Tatum. We know she married Eddie Gilbert. After that point, various boyfriends. But in terms of husbands, several years ago, literally a wedding photo and a newspaper announcement went around that I want to say 81, but maybe it was a little bit after that, but before she was going to Georgia, I would think, she was married to Eddie Mansfield, which is like one of those out of nowhere, what? I can't believe this.
Well, and you brought that up yesterday when we spoke briefly on the phone, and I was like, by God, I had heard that and then forgotten about it again. But again, Eddie Mansfield was working the Georgia territory in the summer of 1980 as an underneath heel, and would later on, because he either was from or would move to Florida and worked out of, when he ran that outlaw group he ran years later out of Orlando. So obviously it's entirely possible they met, and well, obviously more than met, but that it would be around that time frame, which would be probably 2 years before she met Tatum. But that was not addressed in this show, and I've only heard the one thing from the one picture going around or whatever, and don't have any supporting documentation.
Here it is from the Tallahassee Democrat, September.
Oh, that's right. She lived in Tallahassee, which is close to Pensacola.
September 11th, 1983. Melissa Ann Hyatt, Atlanta, and Eddie Mansfield, Tampa, were married August 11th at Sherwood Methodist Church, Columbus, Georgia. The Reverend Bassett performed the service, and it goes on from there. And there's a picture of him embracing Missy as a brunette.
Eddie Mansfield probably made as big an impression on her as he made on everybody else. She don't want to talk about it. But anyway, back to the program. We talked about, they did talk about her childhood there and being the spoiled kid, wrecking 9 cars. She wanted to be Susan Lucci. And then they introduced her best friend, Lori. I'm not sure what to say here. I will, would Gordon Soley have said an unorthodox individual? They were friends when they were teenagers, and then they didn't see each other for 40 years. And then she called Missy up out of the blue, and now they're friends again. Facially, she resembled a malnourished Newfoundland. And I'm not sure that she was a good influence on Missy, because we learned that Lori taught her how to flirt and stand in at the girly show to show boobages and things. But now Missy said when she moved to Atlanta, that's when she met Jake. And they got together. And that's about the time, that would have been 1984, and Jake was in the Georgia territory working in Atlanta in 1984, when she would have seen the Sunshine and Precious thing as, I want to do that.
The story always was that Jake would send her into bars, looking like Missy, just a knockout, waiting for guys to hit on her, and then he wanted to walk in his fucking trench coat or whatever and make a big...
cut the promo on him and scare him.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, so that was 84. And then when they broke up, that's when she met Tatum, and that was 1985 when we left. Well, they teamed Tatum up with Jack Victory. Jack Victory was in Dallas when we left. He helped me move, bless him. What a wonderful guy.
Underrated tag team. I know you said before John Tatum wasn't the biggest thing, but they actually ended up having a nice run from 85 into 86 to the UWF. And Jack Victory was pretty underrated overall, but they were a good tag team.
Yes, and they, again, because they couldn't get to Dallas was still Freebird crazy, and they couldn't get to Freebirds. They got a discount Freebird, and Tatum, and Victory was blonde. But nevertheless, so she's trading up year by year. But again, poor John Tatum, my God, he can't be that much older than me. Was it the car wreck? Because he did get in a car wreck, which curtailed his career there in 86. But is this the lingering effects from 40 years later, or is something else happened to him?
No, I mean, look, to be fair, Dark Side of the Ring puts a camera right in everyone's face and turns the lights off. It is so dark, and the only thing lit is the person's face.
No,
right up in their face. Right up in their face. Come on.
I don't look too awful fucking bad and can speak the English language somewhat distinctly, even though the camera's up in my face.
When the Freebirds went into the Hall of Fame, Michael Hayes was giving a speech, and he's like, Hollywood John Tatum. And John Tatum stands up and, kind of slowly and, with even some dignity, raises his arm. And all of a sudden some woman shoots up with him ah! and Michael Hayes goes, I see you, Sheila. That was my big takeaway of when the Freebirds went into the Hall of Fame.
Anyhow.
Good tag team, though. Good. Jack Victory and John Tatum were a good tag team, and who knows what would have happened if he hadn't gotten hurt.
But nevertheless, that's what happened there. But by then, Missy had already got with Eddie, and they did an angle on it, drama for the television. And Tatum said, I thought I'll be booked in the main event working with Eddie Gilbert. And then he got in a car wreck.
They were also cool. Let me tell you something. Hyatt and Hot Stuff International with Eddie, Missy, Sting, and Rick Steiner. Even though Rick Steiner and Sting weren't rookies, they were great together. It was a great combo, and it worked. It was really cool.
It was Hot Stuff, and Hyatt International was better than when Gary Hart and Armand Hussein pooled their managerial resources. H&H, yeah. All right, anyway, so back to the show. So Bonnie Blackstone. Haven't seen her in years, since the old LPWA TV tapings. That'd be 35 years ago. And Bonnie introduced herself. I've been in wrestling for 30 years. I think she needs a new calculator, because it's been 41 by my count, Bonnie. She is the modern Hedda Hopper with her delivery. She had practiced some of that shit. They ought to put her on Inside Edition. You know how Bonnie got into business?
Well, she was Joe Pedicino's wife. She was working at the television station, wasn't she?
No.
Oh.
No. She legitimately won a contest. Before she ever even had met Joe Pedicino, Joe was doing, this was the summer of 85, and Joe was doing the Superstars of Wrestling block that we've talked about here on the program so many times, where he would show all the shows. He'd show Memphis, and he'd show Dallas and Mid-South, whatever. It was a 6-hour block. What was it, from 8 o'clock till 2 in the morning on the local station there in Atlanta. And he hosted it, and he started running it was a legit shoot contest to find a co-host for Superstars of Wrestling. Because when I was there in the summer of 85, every Saturday night when I'd get back from Columbus, Georgia, and get my Domino's pizza, I'd sit down and rewind the tape and run it back to 8:00, and I'd watch wrestling all fucking night. And they actually had the submissions, the audition tapes where people would come in. They'd either do it on tape or I think they brought a few in. And Bonnie did one and she knocked everybody else out of the fucking park. She could talk on camera. She had the big blonde 80s hair. She was probably about 20 years old, maybe then. And she was perky. And so she won the contest and became the co-host. And then she and Joe started dating and ended up getting married. But she legitimately won a fucking shoot contest to get in the wrestling business.
Well, I never saw her delivery like it was here, where she would kind of lean in a little bit and like, I'm going to tell you what's going on.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. She's gone from sports interviewer to gossip columnist. And here's the real story about the walking riot. Oh, my God. But I mean, everybody's a gimmick. Or, we're all fucking gimmicks. David Manning, what a gimmick. He had to get that line in when I booked the Parade of Champions. That was the 86 Stadium show that they had the mud match. When I booked wasn't Ken Mantell still the booker until he left to go to work for Watts in the scandal where the talent raid happened, and Mantell took a lot of the Dallas guys to Watts for the UWF. Wasn't that
including
late
Missy.
86?
I mean, that was Missy and John Tatum and Jack Victory and a lot of these people.
Eddie?
Oh, no, Eddie was already working for Watts. Eddie was already with Watts.
That's right, because then Eddie was there, and then when they got there, that's when that
Ken Mantell took Missy Hyatt, John Tatum, Jack Victory, Iceman King Parsons, Chris Adams. I'm sure I'm forgetting more. I guess maybe One Man Gang.
Yeah,
Skandar
maybe
Akbar. I'm not sure.
He was back and forth anyway. But nevertheless, the point is, David Manning, and I love him, but he's so proud of world-class wrestling, and he did go to the booking meetings, and he was involved in everything, and he was a friend of the family, but he takes possession when I booked the Parade of Champions.
Well, that's what even it said on the screen, like David Manning, Booker.
Yeah. Well, at the end, when he was the only one left, but nevertheless. So we got through the UWF era there, and then that's when Bonnie Blackstone said, "Power is a great aphrodisiac." She was giving him the lines, baby.
No one's more powerful than that Joe Pedicino. Powerful Joe Pedicino, as he's known.
The round mound of sound. Anyway, that Vince and Missy's manor. And that was a topic inside the business, and to the few smart fans and newsletter readers of the day, that everybody knew Missy went, and everybody knew they shot shit, and everybody saw that it didn't air.
No, they don't forget, they put it in the WWF magazine.
Yes, they had publicity on her before they knew that it wasn't going to happen. So it was, and again, I bet you the first time that anybody had ever asked Missy Hyatt to interview anybody was that day that she's expected to take over, as she said, the Piper's Pit segment, which it wasn't going to be taken over Piper's Pit. It was going to be the talking segment to replace Piper's Pit. And if she had, do you think that Missy has ever said, "God damn it, if not for the timing, I would be a multimillionaire," because Vince took her out after the taping and did all the Vince stuff and acted like a big wig, and then took her back to her room and stuck his tongue in her mouth and tried to, have his way. And if that had happened 25 years later, she'd have been a multimillionaire for the rest of her life. And now she just had a shitty interview show that got fucking canceled before it aired and had to go back and start over.
If Missy's manner had worked out, no brother love.
That's right. It's, so once again, we can cuss them for not knowing what to do with her. That we had to suffer. It was because of that. We had to suffer through the Brother Love era.
But again, that's a Vince thing. Here's someone who every second of wrestling TV time she's been on has been brilliant as this heel valet. Vince is like, all right, let's make her a friendly interviewer.
Yeah.
That's the exact opposite. Like, what? There aren't too many examples back then of Vince just trying to break someone and make them do something completely different than everything they've done, but there's no reason for that. Especially if you have Elizabeth there. If you have the damsel in distress and you know you're doing the Randy Savage babyface turn coming up, why wouldn't you want to heel Missy Hyatt? The exact opposite.
In the exact opposite fashion of when I had Tammy, I brought Sherry Martel in to be the babyface doppelganger, but nevertheless. And also, even then, with some talents, you need to let them be themselves. You can't script shit. You can't really even give them things to say. That if you expect it to come out the way that you want it to, when you tell them exact words to say, you're going to be disappointed. What you have to do is give them the gist of the situation they're in and then let them be, right? And she could follow scripts and do interviews and ask these questions about these angles. How many times have I said, in some cases, that's where a manager or someone is needed for a talent to explain the details, to do the dates, places, the times, sell the appropriate information for how we're going to get your money on this, and let the talent be. And that's what Missy needed to be let be. And where that was where she was the opposite of Tammy, who had a photographic memory and could say any goddamn thing.
But after 87, it all changes. I mean, 88, there's still some of it, but...
Well, they went back to Memphis, which was not really mentioned.
That wasn't mentioned. It wasn't mentioned that Eddie started booking Continental and she went there, and they didn't use her really. I think she was just basically a commentator, an interviewer. She wasn't the va-va-va-voom Missy Hyatt heel character anymore. Memphis TV, there's a few moments of her interacting with Lance and stuff, but it was already starting like, it felt like no one, and maybe you could say it was Eddie. Actually, you probably could say it was Eddie. Eddie didn't really seem to know how to use her at that point either.
Well, it also truthfully could have been that at that point, who is she going to get used with and against? And, you know, he had a lot on his plate at that point.
But again, after WWF, before they go to Memphis and Continental, her and Eddie are back in NWA, and that's when, I mean, as a kid, it was a big deal that she was in that calendar. Remember they had a calendar, and
yes,
it's like one photo of Missy and then 11 months of men. I don't know.
Yes, well, I remember that was the calendar that me and Bobby and Stan were supposed to be in together, and they wanted me to come to some goddamn place on my day off and wear beach attire and maybe have the white shit on my nose or whatever. And we had not gotten a goddamn dime off anything merchandise they'd sold of us or done of us. And I said, fuck it, I'm not going to goddamn dress up like I'm on a beach in a fake set with sand. And Bobby had something to do with his kids. And so we no-showed, and they put Stan in the calendar, which was probably best. Stan Lane looked best in a calendar full of men.
But that's my point. You had Jimmy Garvin in a Speedo. People want Missy Hyatt.
Yes, but here's the thing. I can tell you, goddamn it, I know for a fact they gave Stan $1,200 for the fucking calendar, which is the biggest merchandise check for anything or the total of everything that WCW had ever fucking sold of us all that time we were there. And that's what we were pissed. We were like, well, fuck, we should have gone and goddamn dressed up. But they fucked her on that. She was the cover. And they fucked her on the fucking calendar. And the hotline, I was on the hotline too. And that was what they said was not an exaggeration.
We received, by the way, we received a ton of questions from, I guess, younger fans who don't even understand or don't know anything about the hotline. So talk as much about this as you can.
Well, my God, it's been this long now. It was the era of the 900 number And phone sex pretty much dominated after a while, and it was the last of the genres of the 900 number to fade out. But you could call, if for a 900 number, it was a charge per minute. If you called 1-900-909-9900, that was the WCW hotline.
The 9 line. That's right.
Then for, what was it, 99 cents a minute? The phone sex lines would charge like $3 or $4.
The first minute was more expensive usually, wasn't it?
Yes, $2 for the first minute, 99 cents for each additional minute. And they did the Gary Spivey, the Psychic Network, the Psychic Friends, call 1-900 something, and they would try to keep those poor old scared people on the phone for 2 hours, and a phone call would cost like goddamn $150 and all that. But whatever. But WCW had a hotline, and I had a day. JR had a day where he did the news. Remember, I've talked about they put a day on with Lance Russell calling house show matches from ringside that you could listen to. And he would change the goddamn wrestlers in the match and call a different match because they were doing the same show every night on the road, right? So to make it different, he'd just use the ring noise and call a different match between two different guys. He'd do his old baseball recreation shit from radio in the 40s. But anyway, Joe Pedicino knows where he'd give the scoops, and I would do a 7-minute heel promo.
Steve Beverly, Paul Heyman. Yeah, they had a bunch.
Steve Beverly, Paul Heyman at various points. It was a bunch of fucking guys talking about wrestling, and it didn't particularly do that well, but still it was ridiculous for, an amount of money to just have people calling on the phone. And I didn't get anything. Just like Missy didn't get anything because they figured, well, we're giving you $150,000 a year guarantee. So you're an announcer and you're a manager and you're goddamn doing the 900 number and everything was included. But the only one that would have actually made any money out of it was Missy, because that's where everybody, she was just making stuff up too. We had no direction. Occasionally somebody would call me and say, you haven't recorded your hotline yet. Because if I was home and I'd call up and just do 7 minutes off the top of my head about some bullshit I don't even remember. Because we weren't getting paid for it, so I didn't give a shit. And only probably Joe Pedicino and Steve Beverly gave a shit. Everybody else was like, oh, this bullshit. But if they were paying, Missy would have made a fucking fortune.
But even the clips they showed of her doing the little spot for, call my number, she was just so good. She was so good in her role. It pisses me off that they just never did anything with her.
I can tell.
Even when they made her the first female announcer to go in the locker room and Stan Hansen would chase her away, spit dripping everywhere and everything. I don't know. Feels like a series of missed opportunities in WCW.
Well, speaking of missed opportunities, then she met the little gremlin, Jason Hervey. And boy, going back, because the first time that he showed up was on the 88 Clash of Champions. Remember, he was one of the fucking celebrity judges. Him and it was Ken Osmond, who played Eddie Haskell on Leave It to Beaver, which I got to do the little spot with. Gary Juster, a Penthouse Pet, was involved. And Jason Hervey was a big wrestling fan. He'd be all over AEW or WWE or something today.
Didn't he used to say that Terry Funk was his godfather?
Well, yes. He was all in, baby. And I don't know how old he was at the time, because he had some type of growth stunting fucking disease, I guess, because he always looked like he was fucking 5'2". But when he started hanging around, obviously Eric Bischoff met him. Bischoff wanted to get in the TV business. Not only is Jason Hervey an actor, but his mother's some kind of talent agent. So boom, they locked onto each other. And then of course, well, there's Missy, and here comes a TV star with a lot of money and a place in Hollywood, and boom, Missy's in the place in Hollywood. And she was 8 inches taller than he was. But then she broke up with him. And this is the way that she tells it. And to be honest, it fits all the personalities. She broke up with Jason, and Bischoff punished her because he needed to buddy up to Hervey to get in the TV business. And also, as ridiculous as this is, the boob picture is the story is completely true also. And as riddled with lawsuits of every kind of job mismanagement and discrimination that it could possibly be that Turner Broadcasting had gotten throughout the years. Even when I was there and it would go in the office, they actually said that all the secretaries in the wrestling office were such fucking obnoxious bitches because you couldn't fire any women or people of color or anybody that they thought would sue. So they just sent them all to the fucking least popular companies within the corporate structure. And since WCW was the lowest on the totem pole, we got the snottiest, rudest people. Because they were afraid. How many lawsuits did they pay off? They paid off, 2 or 3 of Paulie's alone. But I mean, lawsuits from the general employee pool, not even related to wrestling. They were always getting sued and paying. And they put a picture of Missy with her tit popping out from the pay-per-view on the bulletin board in the studio when everybody would come in to do voiceovers. And we heard about that within days of it happening. So this is not like a made-up thing. And then Missy complained and called human relations or whatever they had in those days, and Bischoff fired her for going over his head. But then they ended up having to pay her like $175,000 because they put a picture. If she would have given them a picture, probably, if they'd asked for it for free, but instead they do it like that, and she gets $175,000 from them.
Should have been more.
Well, remember, this is 30 years ago.
Yeah, still. Turner Broadcasting, they should have settled for a whole lot more. I don't know. It's weird that they didn't.
But at any rate, that was pretty much the end of her major league career, except for the ECW, run that we talked about that wasn't particularly earth-shaking, because I remember, again, she had moved to New York City and become a bartender, and everybody heard, oh, Missy's in New York bartending. Okay. But I didn't know that she was that depressed about everything and on that many different substances. She said heroin, cocaine, pills, ecstasy. And she doesn't remember 1994 to 2002 a lot of it, which she was at that first Brian Pillman Memorial Show and with Tammy. And she probably doesn't remember this, but Les Thatcher came up to me and said, go talk to Missy. I said, about what? Just talk to her. Don't let her go to the ring. I'm like, is she supposed to go to the ring? And he said, no, she's not supposed to go to don't let her go to the ring. So I went over, started talking to Missy, and we had a pleasant conversation, except that I was doing most of the talking and she was kind of nodding. And after a while, Les never came back. Nobody came to get her. I had things to do. I said, Missy, you stay right here and I'll be right back. And I never went back. But
I've never heard of that before. Talk to this person so they won't hit the ring.
Would not hit the ring, just go to the ring. I don't think she was going to beat anybody up. He just didn't want her to go. He had some reason to believe she might go to the ring, even though her presence in the ring was not called for or necessary. I don't know. I was just standing there trying to talk to fucking Ricky Steamboat or whatever. Anyhow, and the wrestling vixens thing, we all heard about that with her and Tammy, and I don't understand this, and it wasn't explained well. But she started the Wrestling Vixens website with someone that she knew, and then that was not fleshed out. And she made money at first, but somehow got cheated in ways that were not fully explained. But that's also what broke up her friendship with Tammy, because Tammy felt ill served on the finances, and there was Baby Doll was on because they had Baby Doll because she was a contemporary female in the business, but she offered Baby Doll. She said, I think I can get you $600 to take these naked pictures. And Doll's thinking like, thought I could have got a car. Could have got a taxi maybe for that. But that was so, I mean, obviously content from the Wrestling Vixens website has been circulated on the interwebs, but at the time you had to pay for it. And it wasn't, I guess, Brian, you may know more about it. It wasn't as easy to pirate, but not if you're not, they didn't have financing, professional leadership, honest people, or people who weren't on substances in charge. Maybe they should have had Shopify. Wish we hadn't already done the spot. But so that led to more problems. And then she said that she doubled her Prozac and had a psychotic break, which doesn't sound like a good thing. But finally, she found a doctor to help her and is straightened up and is not, she said, for what, 20 years or whatever, has, been out of that situation.
That's great. And that's great.
That's, yes. That was one thing that they had me saying that I don't think it was clear the way it was edited in this show is the question was posed to me, why didn't Missy get a chance during the Attitude Era with the companies, at each other's throats? Why didn't one of them want to bring her back? And the thing is, that's the way they thought in those days, is that, well, Missy was the same age 10 years ago as Sunny is today, or as this other girl, or as Sable claims to be today.
I think Sable is older than Missy.
I would still like to see a goddamn birth certificate, but nevertheless. But then also at the same time, if she was in New York, and Bruce talks to Paul, or always talked to Paul, and I'm wondering if her being in a bad state at that point, that may have been like the last shot she would have had, because WCW goes out of business, and so does ECW before she gets straightened up. And then the WWF, now she's in her 40s and they're not particularly in need.
Well, again, too, look at the change in how people are used in the business in the late 90s versus the mid to late 80s. There are no more valets. They're all in the ring, in their underwear, wrestling or pseudo wrestling, or, it's not what they were doing in Dallas, and it's not what they were doing now. It was that in-between period, and I don't know. It's not like, see, I always thought the idea that Missy could come in, even as she got older, I always thought she could, if she was, right frame of mind, be a really effective promo and heel presence. After American Pie, they could have made her Milfy Hyatt, play into it. Or I'm serious, there was always
Wait a minute. Hold on. Russo's getting his pen out to write down something for the clown show. Go ahead.
But there was something that could have been done, but that's the problem. Look at the state of how many women were in wrestling and what they were doing in 1999, 2000, and look at what it was in 85, where Missy was one of, 3 or 4 women in the whole business that weren't wrestlers?
Well, and that's goes to my point.
Let's go through the list. Barbara Clary in Florida, the commentator. Sunshine, Precious, Missy. Dark Journey wasn't in the business until late 85.
No.
There weren't that many. Bonnie Blackstone won a contest, so you can add her.
All right. But we get the idea. But that goes to my point that when there were fewer women, it was more special. Each one of them was a personality, and you could put them with a main event guy and have an attraction that drew money. and it wasn't cluttered up with 50-50 between we got 6 matches on the card, 3 guys matches, 3 girls matches. You just devalued an attraction to, for no good purpose. But nevertheless.
But I miss valets. You can't have everyone do it, and Missy was good, and Missy was one of the few people doing it, and usually the people doing it back then were all, in one way or another, they were good at what they did. Now you have so many people.
The last good one was Karen Jarrett.
I can't think of anyone after
15
her.
years.
Who's been after her as a valet? I mean, Liv Morgan, when she works ringside for like a Dominic match, and that hasn't happened in a little while, she's really good, but...
Yes, but that's, still different presentation.
But man, peak Missy Hyatt, 85, 86, 87. You watch that stuff. It stands out how good, how into it she is.
All right, and now you're going to get this new guy she's got after you if you don't watch out there, cowboy.
Oh, no, he seems like a nice guy.
Well, I know, but he may be enraged at your over-the-top fucking endorsement of all of Missy's charms and attributes.
I'm saying how talented she was. That's all I'm saying.
He was a big fan of hers in the 80s and had her picture in his high school locker. I hope it was his high school. He said locker. I hope it wasn't 3rd grade, but now they're very happy, and we're happy they're happy.
Nothing about the Civil War.
She still does the Civil War reenactments. I think she's a nurse, possibly. I wonder, I've been watching some of the goddamn documentaries lately on the state of first aid back in those days. And I think I'd rather him just go ahead and just shoot me. Hey, nurse, just fucking finish it, rather than do whatever the fuck you're going to do to me in 1864.
There was a Mr. Show episode years ago where they spoofed the Civil War reenactments. And there was a problem at one of them where 2 Lincolns showed up. They didn't know what to do. They had 2 Lincolns.
Yeah, if you lose the coin flip, does the loser has to be Jefferson Davis, or what? How does that work?
I'm Robert E. Lee. No, I'm Robert E. Lee. I mean, yeah, what happens? I don't know. How any of that works.
Do you think any of them are like the boys and don't want to do jobs? Let's switch the finish. Put the South over this year.
I thought overall this was a pretty good episode of Dark Side. I mean, again, there was a lot of stuff. I don't even want to say a lot of stuff they left out. There was a lot more they could have hit. Like the few of the things we talked about, which aren't really out there, but they hit a lot of stuff. The only real complaint I've seen from listeners is some think that it was basically, poor Missy. All these bad things happened to Missy. Missy never did anything wrong. Although I don't know if it was exactly presented that way. I mean, David Manning kind of didn't present it that way, but yeah,
I think you have some sympathy for Missy, because some of those things she very well may have been able to prevent with a little more forethought put into things, but she did have quite a bit of crummy luck there, and at least she's recovered.
They should put her in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Well, that again, you don't think of that right off the bat because she never worked there, but since now it's become opened up to everybody in wrestling, but hey, she fits. They have the quota of women. She fits that. They have a quota of dead people. She can't fit that.
She's got the trademark First Lady of Wrestling.
That may fucking work against her. She actually owns something.
Yeah, really, yeah.
Oh, fuck her. We can't fucking milk her again after all this time. But if she'll get the legacy wing.
I thought it was a good episode, and it's nice to see that everything's kind of working out nicely for Missy Hyatt. She's always, in my limited interactions in the past with her, she's always been very, very nice.
And she's smart to the business.
Oh, yeah.
Which, no, I mean, it sounds ridiculous for me to have to say that about somebody who's been around for 40 years, but she's tried to be smarter to the business and has accomplished that than a lot of the people that have been in it, especially these days. But anyway, and next week is the season finale, of which I encourage everybody to watch because it's a fine program, and the crew needs to feed their families, but it's about Zach Gowen, and I'm not on it. Because they probably wouldn't have enjoyed anything I would have to say about the one-legged wrestler. But
so who do they have to tell the story of Laurinaitis hiring the wrong guy? Because they have to tell that story. There's no way to get around that.
Well, I don't know if they are or not. Maybe that's why they should. See, they should have had me. But, it's like me and Dave. Some people, okay, they got to protect their experts so we can. No, I don't know
maybe
whether
they
they're
got Laurinaitis. Hey, listen, he'll do anything for money these days, from what I hear. Maybe they got Laurinaitis.
Yes, he's taking bookings and donations and contributions. I'm not sure, but if they don't tell it when we talk about the show next week, we will again for the new listeners that may not be aware of when John Laurinaitis signed the wrong one-legged wrestler. Okay, see, here's a tease for next week, long-term storytelling. But Dark Side of the Ring comes on in the nighttime, Brian, about 9 o'clock or so Eastern time. By 10 o'clock, after watching an hour of Missy Hyatt, I was ready to jump onto a mattress and get a good night's sleep. Because, hold on. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so what I did after I'd finished watching an hour of Missy Hyatt, decided to lay down on a mattress. I didn't lay down on just any mattress, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't take my most precious possession, myself and my body, and just throw it on a box of bricks or a sack of old barbed wire and farming materials. No. I laid it down on the finest mattress that you can have today in your home or your office or in your shed, either a he shed or a she shed. Or potentially, if you just want to put a mattress out in a back alley somewhere where you can bang some random homeless person that happens to be wandering by, it just depends.
There's certain things that we should probably... You ever hear the phrase?
That's true. That's true.
Stick to the
That's
copy.
true. Certain things don't deserve a Helix mattress. You can bang some homeless person wandering
All right,
by
that's not what I meant.
On a sack of bricks or whatever. You don't need to put a Helix.
Metaphorically speaking.
Well, there's 4 of them. See, that's
I don't see. Once again, this has been a metaphor, a fun. Maybe ill-timed, but a fun metaphor to tell you all about a
fun
wonderful
metaphor
bed,
for if you want to have a great mattress to bang somebody on, well, then you need a Helix. But if you want to sleep, you need a Helix too. And if you want your back to stop hurting, you need a Helix mattress. And if you want people to look up to you and respect you, you need a Helix mattress. Because when you're walking down the street and you look like you haven't had a good night's sleep in about 3 weeks, you got alligator bags under your eyes, and you got wrinkles that are starting to form around the downturned portion of your mouth, people are going to say, that son of a bitch is not doing very well in life because he doesn't have a Helix sleep mattress. That's what you're going to look like. You're going to have generic mattress face. Do you want that? Do you want people point at you and go, look at that generic mattress face on that fucking guy that can't even be bothered to get a Helix? You'll be the laughing stock of the community. You'll be ostracized by your friends and neighbors, ladies and gentlemen. So right now, go to helixsleep.com and check out the 20-plus unique mattresses to choose from with a variety of mattress toppers. They're little things that you can sprinkle them right on. It's like salad toppers. You sprinkle them right on, and you eat them right off the mattress before you go to bed. And folks, Helix mattresses can be conveniently shipped directly to your door. And much like vampires, if the people that bring them are invited inside the house, well, then they can come in as well. They might want to stick around and watch you unbox this bad boy. Because since Helix combines the innovative technology with the high-quality materials to deliver comfort and support, and their soft, medium, and firm mattresses, then also when you slice that box open and that thing just inflates like a life raft on an I Love Lucy episode, well, you know then it's fun for the whole family. Invite the neighborhood, pop some corn, and tell the kids from down the street to come and bring their hula hoops, and it can be a party. Brian, have you ever had a mattress unboxing with hula hoops?
I haven't, and I haven't stopped you because technically what you have said falls within the parameters of good taste. You can invite whoever you want into your house. And
that's right. Even if it's homeless people that you're going to bang.
If they agree with the banging, yes, that you are allowed to do that.
Yes, if it's consensual banging, well, homeless people, they'll agree with most anything just to get a fucking place to lay down. That's where having a fine mattress comes in, folks. It's going to get you laid more if the better mattress you got, because you can go down to Broadway and Fifth and you can find some people and you can say, hey, I got a Helix, and they'll come with you versus just some old camping mattress in the alley.
All right, this may not be the example that works for everyone. As we begin to wrap things up here for Mom and Dad America,
right
for
now,
Mr. and Mrs. at home, for
Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea. And if you're going to take a cruise, take a Helix mattress with you, because those cruise ship mattresses could have all kinds of goddamn Legionnaire's disease in them. So take your own Helix mattress in the box and unbox it when you get on the ship, and then they'll wonder, how the fuck did this thing get in here? Anyway.
Again, that falls within the parameters of things we can talk about. So, Jim, again, a great deal for people who want a great mattress for your home, or of course your cruise ship suite, whatever it may be. Jim,
I'll give it to him.
Whether you're a stowaway or not, what do we got for him?
Yes, well, for the stowaways now, you're going to have to get the kids' mattress because you're going to have to travel light. You're going to have to travel light. HelixSleep.com, HELIX, HelixSleep.com/JCE. That is the code, because you're going to get 27% off for the Labor Day Best of the Web sale. 27, that's the biggest discount that I believe in Helix history that I can remember. Don't hold me to it, but it's up there. So once again, 27% off site-wide right now for the Labor Day sale, Best of the Web. 27% off HelixSleep.com with the /code JCE. You're going to save almost 1/3 and get the same size mattress. No reduction in the size of the mattresses. And you'll get laid easier, and you can brag about it. When you go to work, tell your friends and co-workers, I've got a Helix mattress, and watch them start putting all kinds of snot in your coffee and shit, because they're going to be jealous.
One more time, and finally, what is that promo code?
HelixSleep.com/JCE.
Helix!
All right, Brian, I guess before we go any further, we got sad news has come across the news desk here at the Experience. Ilja Dragunov is no longer in the WWE, but it was his choice, apparently. They didn't release him. His contract expired, and he apparently was not pleased with their offer. They were talking, but nothing has happened. And did you see that somebody has written that they are looking at how many clicks the fucking guy's YouTube clips get to determine how much they might want to pay him, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. But your thoughts, Mr. Last?
Well, again, a lot of that depends on booking. I mean, if Hulk Hogan was just working job matches and losing, I don't know if everyone would want to see his stuff, but I mean, Dragunov is a very talented guy. I hate that neck tattoo.
Yeah, well, it's an epidemic.
Very talented guy. I guess the story going around is they didn't say we don't want you back. They said we want you back at a certain rate, and he thought he deserved more than that. The question is, did he think he deserved the old rate, or at least that? Or was he asking for a giant raise, which probably he's not due for right now, but, we really don't know the semantics.
Right, and one doesn't assume that he's a megalomaniac that thinks he needs $5 million a year or whatever the fuck. But as far as the YouTube clicks, you're correct. It's the booking, but also besides the fact that they didn't do anything when they brought him up to the main roster a couple of years ago, and then he got hurt, but they didn't do anything to make him that attractive or I got to see this. But sometimes guys like that are different, that are unique, that obviously are hardworking and dedicated, that are excellent workers who can have great matches with other people that you might want to make look more prominent. I mean, who has ever made Gunther look like a bigger monster than Ilja and had a better match with him? Even the main roster guys, still to me, I don't think anybody's topped the match that Gunther had with Ilja. They meshed. But you can't just go by, everybody likes this guy just by himself. It has to be, who's he working with? What's he in? What's he saying and doing to get a response from most people? But here's another thing. Ilja is not from here. Imagine that. You can't tell by his name. Sounds like he's from Poughkeepsie. But he might not want it. He moved to a foreign country to do this job. And if they're trying to cut his money or pay him less than what they were, whatever the case, he may say, I'd rather just go home. And
well, don't forget, there's also another option down the street, and he may be a perfect fit for what they look for.
Well, that's what I was going to say also, is that he's a smaller guy, so he'd fit in better in AEW, but he's also a more serious guy. So he may not fit in an AEW. Or who does he know? Does any of the AEW decision makers want to play with him? Are they friends? Because it really doesn't matter, as we've seen about talent. It's whether you fit in at recess. So the question is, he's so dedicated, I'm sure he wants to continue wrestling, but does he go back home and await another opportunity? Does he try to go to Japan, where that style would probably be, attractive? Does he know anybody in AEW? Or, I mean, he could go there and get paid, but we know from experience of everybody else that he's not going to go there and get to be a bigger star than he is now.
No, but in terms of wrestling, if he's really serious about what he's doing, and again, there's plenty of examples that go the other way. You don't want to see what would happen, which would be Tony putting him and Orange Cassidy in the same ring within like the first 60 days.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But Ilja and MJF? Sign me up.
Well,
even like some of the guys at Ilja and Ciampa. See, again, some of these guys have done silly stuff and are doing silly stuff, but they're capable of having the serious physical wrestling match. And I mean, other than New Japan, and I don't know what they're paying now, what other options are there?
I don't know about Ilja and MJF right now. The way that he was presented on the other television, they would have to actually elevate him somewhat to where people would. And they can't elevate anybody.
I completely agree.
So it'd be a good match, but it wouldn't be anything to write home about in the ticket selling department, because people wouldn't see him on that level right now. And we've had this conversation before, but who has ever come to AEW that they have elevated past what they were before? So maybe some of the girls, because we'd never heard of them before.
Andrade.
And he ain't that high. Speaking of being elevated.
How you know?
Well, I looked at his eyes.
Stupidest gimmick in wrestling that he says, how you know?
But anyway, Ilja, I'm going to miss seeing him. We haven't seen him much anyway, But
in terms, going back to what you said before about looking at YouTube clicks and trying to look past the idea that, WWE's creative is pretty weak. I mean, on the same show where they had, we'll talk about Smackdown a little bit, where they had Cody and Owens and Sammy, you also had that like really bad backstage segment with the women who they're all doing like their own individual performance, but together. Like, they all have like their line ready and how they're going to perform it. And then the next person goes and does it. And Ilja Dragunov doesn't fit into that kind of setting. He'll do it. I mean, They all do it. They all have to do it. It feels like Vince is in charge again with the poorly written, bad backstage segments. It feels like Vince again. But if Dragunov was in a wrestling company that doesn't exist, where, they have a host or a commentator and he's at a podium and he brings him over and talks to him and lets him get over, that's one thing. But just being another guy that shows up on the main roster and you're in backstage segments and you're standing there with the other guys that have just come up and everyone, it's like a bunch of freshmen trying to figure out how to fit into this. And, there's very limited things he's done up there that people buzzed about. You talk about YouTube clips. The Gunther stuff was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was mostly NXT, if not all NXT.
Yeah.
I think him and Carmelo Hayes maybe had some good matches, but Carmelo Hayes has been in a similar position. But they're taking care of him. I think that this is why Danhausen's like one of their top priorities. Because they look at the things that get attention and then they figure out how do we sell things to that person. And with Dragunov, you'd have to be a diehard fan to want a shirt of his.
Maybe there's room in wrestling for Jim Herd again after all. They could bring him in. They could find Long John Silver and Spartacus, sell all kind of shirts. Is that one-legged guy still around? I know Zach Gowen is retired.
I don't know.
But we could get Long John Silver.
Yeah, whatever happened to the other one-legged guy? We never hear about his story. That poor guy.
I think
that poor guy. My dreams have come true. I can't believe this. WWE.
Nobody even knows his name, right? Nobody does. But I heard he was almost 40 when they signed him. This was 15 years ago or whatever it was. So I think his window probably closed.
Longer than that. That was over 20 years.
20 years, whatever. Oh my God. Well, anyway, but you know what? SmackDown doesn't need Ilja. They're doing fine on their own. They had 2 whole segments I watched this week on 3. Only 1 to laugh at, though. Should we talk about, since we're on the WWF or WWE bandwagon here, should we talk about SmackDown, even though it's not chronological, and we'll bring the rear up with Dynamite? It certainly was sucking hind tit. But this SmackDown this past Friday night, I say this past Friday night, it was 12 hours ago as we speak, was the big Kevin Owens and CM Punk match. And that's what was featured. And that apparently got him the all-time biggest SmackDown gross ever in Toronto, 17,700 to some people at ridiculously exorbitant prices. So they wanted to be there for the happening, for good old KO. What'd you think of this show as a whole?
Ooh,
should it be in a whole?
As a whole, the main event was something I was looking forward to throughout the 2 hours. What else? The women's stuff wasn't very inspiring. Trick Williams and Yachty. And I don't know if this is one of the things you're going to talk about. Their confrontation with Baron Corbin was interesting.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that now, because that's one of the 3 things, and it's the one I was going to laugh at. What in the world are they doing? Trick Williams is over. The people like him. He's got oomph. He's new. He's fresh. He's not goddamn Dory Funk Jr., but he's doing okay. Lil Yachty, he's got a stooge. I like it. He's a baby face because he's a heel, but he's not really a heel. He's self-absorbed and he brags about himself and a blah, 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 but he's not like going out there trying to assault people's grandmothers and rip their groin out or whatever.
No, he's like one of Lawler's managers.
There you go. And with the whole thing with Trick is he's a heel, but he's just a braggadocious, outlandish guy, which makes him a babyface. He's not trying to get heat with people. And again, then Baron Corbin comes back looking the same goddamn way he did, with the same goddamn name and the same off-putting fucking weird physique where he just makes big guys look small, but he doesn't look big. He comes out on a goofy red motorcycle. Like, is anybody going to buy him as one of Hell's Angels? Even if he was, he doesn't look like it. There's a total lack of charisma. He looks awkward when he does shit and speaks. And this is a program now. So when Trick called Corbin out, obviously he wants his belt back. Corbin don't want to give him the fucking shot. Yachty hit Corbin with the Yachty stick, and Trick clotheslined him over the top, and then said, all right, goddammit, whatever. I wasn't going to fight you before, but after you just kicked my ass, I want to fight you now. What the fuck? If he didn't want to fight him after he'd already beat him, why does he want to fight him when he's beat his ass? So he agreed, but for Saturday night or Sunday night's main event, and the crowd shit on that because they wanted to see that. But in a mirror image of the manager stipulation, it used to be if I beat this heel, then I'm going to get 5 minutes alone with his manager to exact revenge. Now, Corbin gets 5 minutes with Yachty first. And if Yachty lasts the 5 minutes, then if Trick gets the title shot. And Yachty screamed, hey, okay, or something. He just screamed, and it was like an acceptance, but the people didn't pop because they didn't understand him. They thought he was about to vomit. This was not good for Trick, I don't think, or Yachty, or the viewers.
Feels like the Baron Corbin feud has kind of stopped the momentum. Not that they can't pick it up again, but I don't know. Felt like things were going one way, and now they're just paused.
Is Baron Corbin personal friends with Triple H or some important person? Because why else
would
Vince
they? McMahon used to really like his segments, and that's part of the reason why there were so many of his segments.
Well, I don't know what segments of Baron Corbin's that Vince McMahon liked, but geez. Anyway, all right. And let's go to the main part of this thing. The double main events. We got Cody and Orton. We got Owens and Punk, and Sammy's in the middle of all of this shit. And they started the program with Sammy venting to Nick Aldis, and he did a great job about how he's been screwed and taken advantage of, and etc. And he started knocking Orton, and then Orton appeared behind him. And as soon as Sammy turned around and started the humming, there's Cody in the ring screaming, Orton, get out here. Get out here. And Aldis goes out and tries to calm Cody down, but Orton's music plays and out he comes. And Brian, tell me what you thought about this, but Orton is cutting the best promos he's ever cut in his life. And he came down the aisle and he fucking cut a fairly fired up promo. And Cody keeps goading him, and Aldis is trying to stop both of them. But even though they kind of gave Orton the heelish way out of the interview, where Orton said, hey, there, Aldis tells him, if either one of you touch the other one, then you'll never get another world title shot ever again before Sunday night's main event. And Orton said, well, there's no way that I'm going to jeopardize my title shot. This is kind of, him backing away from it. And Orton told Cody that he didn't hit Randy last week with that chair because he can't, because he's a good guy. You always will be. You're the golden boy. I'm telling you, something with that. The American daydream is what you are. But I would hit somebody with a chair, and I did. When Cody fired back at him, I realized Orton is winning this promo battle and the people are on his side anyway, but Cody is so mad and trying so hard to register indignance and get people to rally behind him because he's going to do something about this, that he's just screaming and he sounds desperate. Because Orton's there going, hey, I'm just fucking, I'm a viper. I would do these things and you can't because you're a good guy. And Cody's, motherfucker, get in here, you son of a bitch.
And that's the best Cody. And the angry Cody is the best Cody. It's the most believable Cody. It's the only time that he actually seems like he's being genuine for whatever reason.
But it seems like he's also desperate. He's like, yeah, I don't know. It just, It's not coming off mad, I'm going to kick your ass. It's mad, I've got to get my spot back. I don't know. But Cody says he's going to be the legend killer, and that's not a prediction. It's a spoiler.
That's Heyman's line, isn't it?
Well, can you see Paul Heyman introducing the new golden boy of wrestling? I'm telling you. But that was that. What'd you think?
I think Paul Heyman sees that every night when he goes to sleep. I thought Cody was good here, actually. I thought Cody was really good. The fired up Cody is great. Now, I agree with you. There is a tinge of desperation. I don't know if that's Cody Rhodes feeling the fans slipping away, or if that's just, I was supposed to be mad at Randy, so I'm going to let it all out while Randy stands there and doesn't react to any of this stuff I say. Randy's doing great. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I've never been a Randy Orton promo fan. He's doing the best promos that he's ever done. There's something about getting to the point where you don't give a shit anymore. Like, I've got my money. I've had a good career. You just let it loose. Like, Dave Bautista, right before he left, was doing the best promos of his life, and then he was gone.
Good. There's no pressure. You've got all the experience and none of the pressure.
Now, we've been saying it. Randy's the heel. The fans are cheering him. He's a legend. And he's not attacking a baby face that they're in love with right now. That isn't to say Cody doesn't have his fans. That isn't to say that Cody isn't, still one of the top baby faces. But you're at that point where he's being pushed one way, but the fans aren't exactly seeing him the same way. And a lot of it's just because they haven't made him interesting or given him interesting things to do or made him come out looking good in almost anything he's done in a long time.
Well, and now the people are so smart to what's going on. They know that Randy is nearing retirement and they're not going to have him much longer. And he's an icon and he's the last one left of the golden class. So they're going to cheer him. They're going to be on his side. Anyhow.
Did you watch the women's segments?
Are you out of your mind? Are you completely out of your mind? I had puppies to play with. I like those puppies instead of the other puppies. Did I miss anything? Or is that why you're asking? Or again, is that a facetious question?
There was a backstage segment with Chelsea and Paige and Tiffany and Fatal Influence. And, it's everyone turned at a weird angle so the camera gets you. And then like I said before, everyone does their individual performance. Fatal Influence are 3 girls doing their individual performances that they've rehearsed, and they're completely not believable. And the other 3 are just this is bad. Bad.
Hey, you know what the best thing is about when everybody in one of these group things has a prepared line?
Yeah.
And every once in a while, somebody will say something a little bit different than it was prepared for. And then somebody will answer the original statement that they thought that the person was going to make. And it doesn't make any sense because they're not listening to what is being said because they're so concentrating on remembering their fucking line.
It's a teen drama club is what it is. But there was still more on SmackDown.
Yes, there was the big main event. And they gave him plenty of time. It started the first entrance. Owen started at 9:30, and he comes out, and then of course, like Mussolini. But I don't have a closing line for that because he's in Canada, and he's not. Mussolini is not popular in Canada when he's facing a Canadian. So they booed, but they still sang the song. And Punk came out in a hockey mask. I guess it was custom made for him. I saw a picture on Twitter. It has Larry's paw prints on the side of it. And he got a big, it's clobbering time. Again, they want to boo the guy because they want the other guy who's Canadian to win, but they know it's all horse shit. So it's not like the Bret Hart type of Canada support against the United States or where they really meant it. It's just they're picking a guy. And Punk was loving this. He was having a great time because there were still supporters of his. And at a couple points they got dueling chants, but he was enjoying getting a chance to get the booze and be a heel for a short time again. And it's so good that he led the people to do what they were going to do anyway, but he fed on that because he knew they were going to do it, and he bumped like a heel. And Owens got a big pop for everything he did, and Punk subtly did the things that would turn the people against him without turning him to the audience watching on television. When Owens cleared off the announce desk, Punk stopped him and then fucking set the desk back up and took their garbage wrestling desk spot away. And they booed that. And then just the heel bumping, where it's just a subtle difference, but it changes the people's response. He healed without cheating. And he had Owens fight from underneath so that Owens had the underdog appearance and the support. And Punk cut him off for heat with a neck breaker about 3 minutes in, kept it going during the break. When they came back, Owens fought back, got a comeback in, cannonballed him right in the corner, 2 count. Then Owens splashed Punk through the desk finally, and then swantoned him in the ring, got a 2 count. And then Punk fired back and got a couple of 2 counts, and it was cooking. And Punk got the Anaconda Vice and then did a neck breaker, and again, and Punk is hammering the neck now, even though it's not like a goddamn attempted murder, just the fact that he's working on the neck that had surgery, that he's, that was heelish and got lots of heat. And then he calls for the go to sleep, and Owens foiled it and got the sharpshooter. They blew. Punk got the ropes. And then I think it was a little much. They shoved, or maybe the first one didn't work out and they had to do it again because Punk shoved Owens into the referee, but it wasn't really a big bump. But then Owens shoved Punk into the referee and he knocked him out of the ring. And then Owens hit a stunner and got to cover, but there was no referee. And then Punk hit a go to sleep and covered, but there was no referee. So he goes to the floor to get the ref. And there's Sami Zayn, and he runs Punk into the post and it rolls him in. And Owens didn't see this, but Owens hits a stunner, cover. Sami rolls the referee in. The people were thinking this is going to be it. 1, 2, kick. And it was, And then Sami got the title belt and slid it into Owens. And Owens got it and picked it up, but was like, what the fuck? And gave it back to Zayn. And when he did that, Zayn hit Owens over the head with the fucking belt. And there's Punk coming up. We didn't really see what happened there. He scoops Owens up, hits him with the go to sleep, cover, 1, 2, 3. And then after they replay everything, and Sami comes back in with the belt and lays out Punk. And then turns around and knocks Owens out again. And then clocked Punk again. So they got their big house. We said that it wasn't going to do any good for Owens to come back and lose his first match back. But remember, I said somebody's going to be involved depending on where they're going. And now, I mean, it's a dream come true for Owens and Sami because they're going to get to work again. They've been doing it for 20 fucking years. It didn't hurt Owens because he had an out and drew the biggest house in the history of Toronto. Punk's still a champion. I thought this was fucking tremendous. But that's just me.
That was really good. It was one of Punk's better matches in a while. Really good. And his matches are typically good on the big events, so that says something. Really, really good. Sami's on fire right now.
Yeah.
Sami is just really, really in the zone right now, and it worked. And this way, Owens doesn't have to put over Punk, who he doesn't like, and Punk certainly doesn't have to put over Owens. And it all worked out. And with Sami and Owens, maybe one last big hurrah for these two guys who are certainly not getting any younger.
Well, now you had to end it like that. Yeah, but they're over the hill.
I'm not saying they're over the hill, but I'm saying if they want to do one big feud, one last big feud, this would be the time.
The shit that they like to do when they work with each other, one last big feud is probably about all they'll have before they're both paralyzed. But they'll be thrilled sitting wheelchair to wheelchair talking about the bumps they took.
Or is it going to be a three-way? Because he attacked Punk also.
Well, there can be all kinds of. I'm saying that Owens and Sammy now have reason to have a variety of confrontations and matches, and there could be a three-way in there as well. And then with all the other shit going on with Cody and Orton, any of those people, because they want the title shot, any of those people could come in at any point in time also.
Well, a good ending to SmackDown. Ended on time, no overrun needed. Good match. They gave it time.
Imagine that. When you actually plan your show out ahead of time, you don't end up doing your big angle before the prime audience has been gone for half an hour.
Well, we'll get there with Dynamite in a little bit, but good main event to SmackDown and good sign of things to come, potentially.
It was like a satisfying meal. It was like when you sit down at the table and you have a satisfying meal and you lean back and you go, well, I enjoyed that. Instead of like what I did to myself, as I was speaking about earlier in the program, when I stuffed down the grease and the fried food and felt like I'd been gargling battery acid all night. And that's why I've right there, I've proven my own point. I've proven a point to myself, Brian, that I got to keep eating healthy. I've got the weight down. I've been eating lighter. I fall off the wagon, and what happens? I pay for it. I got to get back on the factor. I've got to factor in what grease is doing to me in my old age. I got to get back on the factor because, folks, if your routine has taken a hit over the past couple of months, you're traveling summer vacation or the kids have been out of school and you realize, God dang it, why in the world did I have kids? They're such a pain in the ass, whatever it may be. You need quick, healthy food. And Factor makes chef-crafted, dietitian-designed, ready-to-eat meals so you don't have to choose between real food and convenience no longer. Ladies and gentlemen, will the woman of the house have to tie on her apron and spend hours and hours slaving over a hot wood stove in the kitchen and dirtying up all those pots and pans she's going to have to wash with the lye soap? Instead, you just pop some Factor in, heat it up, and eat it. Over 175 ingredients, Brian, in Factor meals are banned because they are harmful. Factor only has good, nutrient-dense menu items, over 100 of them. Salmon burgers, shredded pork, collard greens. Have you ever collared a set of greens?
I have not, no.
Well, you'll find out that their necks are very skinny, and you got to put little tiny collars on them. But nevertheless, 97% of the users, the eaters, that is, agree that Factor meals help them live a healthier life. 3% were so old by the time they started, it didn't do any good. They just rotted away into compost.
That is not a percentage that we have been supplied by anyone, so let's not.
Well, I'm just doing the math. 100 minus 97 is 3%, in limbo out there somewhere. But hey, you got a 97% chance, ladies and gentlemen, of feeling confident that you're doing something good for yourself with every meal that comes from Factor. You like the teriyaki Dalmatian, was it? I can't remember exactly.
Teriyaki salmon.
The teriyaki salmon. I was a big fan of the creamy Parmesan shrimp and filet type of thing. But they got all kinds of stuff. And you can get them right now, folks, at a highly seduced rate. Because if you go to factormeals.com, that's Factor meals. If you can't spell it, probably don't deserve to eat it. Factormeals.com/JCE50 off. And you're going to get 50% off of your first box and one free breakfast item per box for 1 year. That's while supplies last. Breakfast foods sell like hotcakes. Once again, factormeals.com use the code JCE50 off, and you're going to get 50% off and one free breakfast item per box for a year. Again, 97% of the people can't be wrong, and 3% of the people ain't around to tell their story. So the odds are in your favor.
Once again, bringing it back home, delicious meals crafted by chefs, meals that we love in our homes. You may love them too. We think you will. factormeals.com/JCE.
Well, there we have it. And now let's go to something that will undoubtedly turn our stomachs. So if you want to take a break, folks, and eat your Factor now, I would recommend it because we're going to talk about AEW here as we close the program with this. The offering that they gave us this past Wednesday night, August 19th. What in the Sam hell are they doing, Brian? This is a goddamn, it's like, talk about AI. They had a story on the news here where one of the county school system used AI to prepare one of the, I don't know, student handbooks or whatever. And it was a map of the United States with half of the states misspelled. And they gave this out to the parents, actually made them pay for it. And all the parents are in an uproar. This is gibberish, like that something not human just formulated this thing for everybody to run out and interact with each other, whether it made any sense or not. Are you sensing that maybe Tony has just hit a button on his supercomputer and his, villain's lair and is letting the computer write this shit?
I think the problem is Tony's the biggest fan of Tony's wrestling. And that's why you have overruns that now overrun the overrun. That's why you have just matches up the gazoo. That's why, besides everything else, I'm fascinated by where they've gone with Omega and Ospreay.
Oh, that's what we're trying to keep an eye on.
The performances by Kenny Omega are Kenny Omega-esque and just utterly fascinating that this is how he thinks a wrestling heel should be. Or whatever it is that he's trying to be. Who even knows?
Well,
and then Ospreay has performed well enough to make him someone you think is either a moron or someone who should be a mute, never on the microphone.
Yes, that I'll agree with there. With Kenny, he never really turned heel. It's just inexplicably he's a prick now. And we'll get there. I want to just throw out a couple of things, and we're going to examine 2 or 3 things on this show in detail. The opening match, they were in Baltimore, not at the Baltimore Arena, formerly the Baltimore Civic Center, but the Baltimore Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena. Say that 3 times fast. And it wasn't a big crowd, it didn't look like, because they couldn't shoot but half the arena and none of the upper deck. So I don't know what they're doing to Baltimore. Is this a new building? Is it in the middle of the Inner Harbor? Or someplace it's difficult to get to?
In the middle of the Inner Harbor? It's under the Inner Harbor. That's right.
It's under the Inner Harbor. Okay. The opening match, a 6-man tag. They've got Will Ospreay in 10 days challenging for the world title in the Wembley Stadium, the biggest arena they're ever going to run. And he's in a 6-man tag against 3 members of the Don Fallis family, Brian Cage, Lance Archer, and Rocky Romero. And Ospreay's partners are Hinari and Francisco Akira, an Italian-Japanese guy. I don't know. The reason why that he was partners, your next world heavyweight champion, ladies and gentlemen, is partners in a 6-man tag with Nobody Smith and Blando Jones because they're friends in Japan. And Akira had a fancy robe bigger than he is. He thinks he's a video game character. He looks like a Best Buy clerk. And he and Ospreay did tag team flipping things with each other. Why would you put your next world champion, the guy in the singles main event of your stadium show in 10 days, in a 6-man tag match with 2 partners that nobody, including their immediate family, has ever fucking heard of?
I could be wrong, but I think we've seen these guys once before on AEW TV, and I don't even remember which pay-per-view it was, but I think it was like just like this. Right before a pay-per-view, Ospreay was like, I got backup. Look who's here. And they came out, and unless you watch New Japan now, you have no idea who the hell these people are. And
well, they called them Ospreay's reinforcements, and these 2 guys standing next to fucking Brian Cage or Lance Archer alone look like, what the reinforcements? Son, fold your tent and run. Anyway, Okada is now doing backstage promos with Renee Moxleygood on his own. And even if he could speak English, the voice, my God, the voice, the shit physique, the face that looks like he's some kind of fucking Japanese CPA, the bland blob of laziness. Well, it's offensive. Anyway, I got something good to say. Kyle was in the ring, old Kyle Felcher in the ring with Tony Schiavone, and he did a promo by himself. No Don or whatever. I gotta still, unless his gimmick is he's just a douchebag, I don't know why he dresses like they've got him dressing. But this was in some ways good. Now, the material is shit because the booking is shit, and he's telling the story of the booking. So there's nothing there, but he's coming along as far as the delivery, the inflections, the facial expressions. And unlike Ospreay, who has, I don't know if that's an English accent, maybe it's a Southern, it's like American's a Southern accent, where if it's real strong, a lot of people can't understand it sometimes. Whereas Kyle has a different kind of accent where it adds to him being a heel, haughty and arrogant and properly prickish. The accent actually accents that, and it helps him sound like Lord Poppycock. And that gets fucking heat. It's like the old Sir Clement shit. You know, when he'd hit him with that, or Lord Al Hayes, he'd hit him with that proper English and that, you motherfucker. So that is good. Again, the poor guy is stuck where he's never going to learn anything, and he's going to be paralyzed before he ever makes any fucking big splash in the wrestling business. But there's talent there if he was just somewhere where it could be developed instead of ruined. Nevertheless, so he started in on how bad he hates Take a Shit, and who comes out in a $6 black tank top and some kind of shiny genie pants that bloused at the ankles. But Take a Shit, it looks like they just let somebody wander in. Maybe from a county fair, because who else dresses like that? I don't know what the fuck. And slowly he walks to the ring, and then they get in a fake hockey fight. And then they take turns doing wrestling moves and counters to each other. Like you do in every fucking street fight with a goddamn guy you're really pissed at. You're going to duck his clothesline, grab his arm, scoop him up, and give him a Blue Thunder reverse powerbomb senton. And finally, Take a Shit knocked Kyle out with some fucking thing, and he's prone on the mat, and he picked the body up and brainbustered it. I can't tell you how every veteran heel in the history of wrestling would have said, pick one, and that's what you're going to do to me. Because you're not going to pick my dead body up and do another move to me, because then you're just egregiously sapping my fucking heat. What'd you think of this mess?
I thought the promo was all right. I didn't have as big a problem with the wardrobe or the beatdown, but obviously it doesn't make sense in terms of a real fight or anything. But this was fun AEW action. And I'll remind you, this is what you said was going to be you talking something good about what you saw at Dynamite. That's what this was.
Well, that was Kyle is coming along despite his surroundings and having nobody to teach him where he's just floundering. All righty. If Ospreay wasn't fucking unappealing enough as a babyface after the opening 6-man tag with his friends from the Federal Witness Protection Program, then they did a sit-down with Ospreay and Omega with Renee Moxley Good in between. And obviously, if anything physical got started, I think Renee can handle both of them. This was the most boring bunch of bullshit I have ever sat through in my life. I would have gone to sleep if I hadn't have gotten mad that they were wasting this much television time. Brian, do you remember from the invention of television until just the recent past when guys went out, whether they were baby faces or heels, and had 2 to 5 minutes to rip their opponent a new asshole verbally, explain why they were mad and what they were going to do about it, and sell some tickets to the match with emotion and passion and charisma and impressive and well-remembered phrases of speech that people quote to this day from great promos like, "That's hard times, baby," or whatever the fuck. Now this, 12 fucking minutes of these two douchebags sitting down bitching at each other about who was better in Japan and which one is the most broken down at this point. I didn't care who carried the fucking company in Japan because I'm not in Japan. And I don't give a shit about either one of them now because they both illustrated that they're both goddamn physically defective and could fall apart and have body parts, laying out in the parking lot at any minute. Kenny is the prick now, and we're going to get to a little bit more of that in a second, but what caused this? Why is he suddenly talking like this when he was the peacemaker before and the guy that was all calm and wanted to bring, fucking sincerity and prosperity and calmness to the world with his breathy, sing-song, phone sex voice? This is the most boring thing I've ever seen on wrestling television.
And if you have an issue with the way he talks, this was like the ultimate of Kenny Omega losing himself in the performance of Kenny Omega.
The performance of Kenny Omega. It's two douchebags who have fucking minor white people's problems that nobody in the real world would give two shits about. Nobody stole anything from the other one. Nobody stabbed somebody in the back. Nobody goddamn committed any heinous offense that anybody else needs to get even with or for. They're just sitting there nattering on about which one of them does video game wrestling the best. You really want to see this match after this fucking production, don't you?
What have I been telling you this entire road? The match will be exactly what AEW fans want. It'll be exactly what you think it will be. The angles don't matter. It's almost like they're doing this just for themselves. They're not talking AEW fans into this match. And if AEW fans aren't the most dedicated fans, they're literally missing the angles for this match because they're happening in the overrun of the overrun. So I don't think any of this really matters. I think this is Kenny Omega wants to perform, and Will Ospreay, someone has convinced him that he could talk. And I swear to God, every time he talks, 5 of his fans die. I swear. Every time he opens his mouth, another one goes away. And they make him look like a fucking idiot. And it doesn't matter, because again, at the end of the day, he'll do his flips, and Omega will do his move, and he'll kick out of the one-winged angel to get the biggest win of his life in his hometown stadium. But these angles, everything they've done with this and you could trace it back to the MJF stuff, has been a miss in my eyes.
About 10 minutes into this thing, I was screaming at the TV, just shut up. Just shut up.
Did you time it out? How long was this on?
Yes, 12 minutes. 12 minutes. And I heard even Uncle Dave reported in the arena, the people were booing the shit out of it and chanting boring. Number one, because they didn't come there to watch fucking television. And number two, because it was fucking boring. I got to think that even if it was Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker or whatever talking to each other, I don't know that even if it was a 12-minute pre-tape played in the arena that people would have been hooting at it. But it's these two non-talking douchebags pissing on each other's fucking pity party. All righty. Would you like to now tell me you?
That's what I was thinking.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Would you like me to now tell you what the thing is going to go on here with the Continental?
I would like you to tell me now the thing that will go on here. Please. We're all dying to know.
Well, a lot of people don't think it'd be like it is, but it do. Because we were talking about the Continental Cup tournament, and Moxley is the Continental champion, but the cup is different. And we were confused about this, but now they're having the tournament. Moxley is in the tournament, even though he's the champion. The title is not up in the tournament matches per se, but unless he wins the tournament, the new champion not only gets the cup, but is also the new champion. Unless, of course, Moxley wins the tournament, then nothing is different. And obviously, Moxley will probably win the tournament because, goddamn, you can't let anybody else win a match in this company or he'll get his feelings hurt and take his fucking play fighter group and go home. So it was Jay White against Jon Moxley in the Continental Cup tournament match. And besides the fact that I can't stomach Moxley and watch him try to perform, this thing went nearly 20 minutes. So in the closing minutes, I just wanted to bring up anybody that wants to know how not to do something. Watch this match when Jay White superplexes Moxley off the top rope in the closing minutes of the match. Do you remember when somebody slammed Randy Orton, body slammed him, and his feet went into the ropes, and Orton got mad and rolled out of the ring and walked down the aisle and started cussing, and then got back in the ring and took over on the guy and just ran his head in all four corners and said, 25 years, nobody's ever slammed me in the goddamn ropes.
I think it was Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, I think it was. Well, old Jay White better be glad that Moxley ain't fucking Randy Orton. When he superplexed Moxley off the top rope, he didn't give him a regular superplex. He gave him a snap superplex. The vertical suplex came first, where you pick the old Harley Race, pick the guy up, straight up, fall backwards, right? And then, and I think it came from Japan, guys started doing snap suplexes.
Dynamite.
Where
Dynamite Kid popularized that.
There you get Dynamite Kid, and his had some snap to it. But the snap suplex is easier to do. You don't have to lift the guy. The guy can go with you without you having to be able to pick him up and hold him. It's an easier bump. It's not as, concussive or whatever. But the snap suplex, you're snapping the guy and you're snapping yourself and you're leaning back real quick, right? You can visualize it. When you superplex a fucking guy, you're not landing on the same plane that your feet are on when they're on the ground. You're on the top rope and you're going to land 4 or 5 feet fucking farther down. So basically, when old Light Switch snap superplexed Moxley off the top rope, he over-rotated him, and Moxley landed right on his fucking tailbone. And you can see the look on Moxley's face when he registers it like, you fucking dickhead, what did you just fucking do to me? It is the funniest thing I've ever seen it. I'm on Moxley's side on this because White was wrong. But God damn it. It was like, that can cause you whiplash if you're going over fast enough. But anyway, Moxley sat there for a second like, my God, he just ran my tailbone right up my fucking windpipe. And seconds later, everybody was up and running 100 miles an hour. And then Moxley grabbed him in a choke and held him down stationary in the ring in the middle and choked him out. The worst wrestler ever picks the most boring finish ever. Imagine that. But the match was not the goddamn issue. Because, brother, did you even notice that? Or were you zoned out because it's Moxley?
No. I noticed that. The way he winced when he came up was noticeable.
Yes. He was just sitting there looking like, what did he just fucking do? But then the match is over, and then they stare at each other for a while. And then Moxley and Marina Schaefer's come out, and they leave. But here comes old Chuck Connors and David Finlay, and they jump Jay White and start kicking the shit out of him. But here come Pockets and Kyle O'Reilly, and they jump them. But then Gabe Kidd comes in and beats them up. Then Roderick Strong came in and hit Gabe Kidd 11 times in a row with various blows, and the fucking dick didn't even go to a knee. And then turned around and beat Roddy up. So does this Gabe Kidd now, has he been convinced that he's somebody in this environment and should be working strong? And then they played music. And here came Hangnail Page, Brody King, and Bandito. And when they came in the ring, the heels that had been kicking the shit out of the baby faces just jumped out on the floor and on their own. But then suddenly Ricochet and his stooges and Jay Lethal and fucking whatchamacallit with the goddamn turn of the 20th century fucking mustache came to the stage and started talking. I wrote, why is this happening? And Ricochet had stopped everything but talking on the mic. And then there was an awkward pause where nobody did anything. And then Ricochet said, okay, I'm ready. Finish what y'all were saying. What the And then Page was crowing about being the 6-man tag team champions with him and Brody King and Bandito. And they insist on being at Wembley Stadium. And they challenge anybody. Meet us at Wembley Stadium. He gave specific directions. I'm not familiar with the area. And we'll fight you for these fucking belts that nobody gives a shit about. And then they played the music and nothing happened. Nobody accepted. There was 9 heels and 6 baby faces out there at the time. And I don't have any clue what combination of any of those is going to accept this challenge, but it was certainly a goddamn happening to have 15 people run out there and fight that weren't even involved in the goddamn match that originated. I just wanted to bring that up.
Another exciting mid-card AEW feud.
Jonathan Cruz came out and gave us another 2 to 2.5 minutes of enjoyment in this goddamn miserable root canal of a television experience, and they killed him again. Why did they not realize they got something here? We were just talking the other day about who are the managers that you could make, that you could give guys that can't talk to and they could help get them over or whatever. I mean, I know people said this is one of the fake luchadors that works under a mask and he should never, ever do that again. But this fucking little prick can get some heat and he can talk. And I can't believe they pull him out every time MJF is not there in person so they can beat him up. He ought to be an ongoing member of MJF's deal. I'm not talking manager. He doesn't have to be his manager and be with him every goddamn second and do promos for him all the time, but to have an ongoing role as some flunky of MJF's, but a flunky with an official title to get some heat and to appear and not get beat up every time. He came out and he did a promo on Andre and to remind Andre that MJF thinks he's a bum. And he did some in Spanish and then in English. And he tore Andre down on a personal level because I know he's not here. So I'm going to say this, that, and the other thing. And then they played Andre's music and he came to the ring and killed Cruz. They can't let a heel get actual heat without then just wiping their feet on him. Then Andre tried to goddamn cut a promo and call MJF out and got bleeped for something. And MJF had a video that played on the screen from a hot tub. And then the problem was that after he had laid Cruz out with the big move, Cruz laid there motionless in the ring through the whole VTR on the screen and what Andre was doing. So that made it comedic. And I can't tell you how distracting that is to the people in the arena who are standing there or sitting there looking at the whole thing, looking at the totality of the picture and not just what you're seeing on television. And I can guarantee you that they end up turning to each other after a couple of minutes. Look, this motherfucker ain't moved yet. Look, he's going to lay there all night. They're not listening. And then after MJF's promo was over, Andre picked Cruz up and gave him another big move. They have people that can do shit. They don't know what to do with it. I don't know. Tell me about, what do you think about Cruz?
I liked him in Mexico when he showed up dressed like Abraham Lincoln with MJF. I thought that was great. And I think we've seen him maybe 2 or 3 other times at most in that role with MJF. And he was here, and unfortunately, I expected him to get beat up because that's the way AEW does it. It's also why AEW doesn't have any serious managers. You know, there have been plenty of opportunities. If Smart Mark Sterling, years before he gave himself the crossroads off the apron, if he had been serious, maybe there was a shot. He was a joke right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Don Callis was a joke right out of the gate.
Immediately.
Taz was pretty good. They kind of neutered him and his group. Trying to think what other managers.
Where the fuck is MFP? MVP and
I don't know where
and Lashley.
I don't know. I saw a picture of him at a Bad Brains concert recently, so he obviously likes good music. Jake Roberts was never a serious manager. Tully Blanchard.
Well, he wasn't going to. Jake Roberts, with all respect to anything he's done as a wrestling talent, could never, has never, and will never be a good manager. It's different skill, and he ain't got time to learn it.
Well, the point is, Tony Khan clearly doesn't get managers. The wrestling business right now clearly doesn't get managers, and where there is an opportunity is usually just seen by other people as a quick chance to squash someone or put the babyface over.
Well,
everyone with MJF though, Smart Mark Sterling, Cruz, I'm trying to remember who else. Just everyone's feckless. He doesn't have anyone with strength. He doesn't have anyone that you would think is serious, like a JJ.
And Dillon. See, that has somewhat hurt MJF from the start, because especially when he was hot at first and he was the devil and better than you and you know it, and they hadn't monkeyed with everything yet, the problem still was people around him being goddamn complete ineffectual morons. And how often does the devil pick stupid simpletons to carry out his goddamn evil plans? If the devil ain't smart enough to find somebody good, then your whole fucking system is fucked.
Did you see?
Anyway,
did you see the Willow and Mercedes stuff?
No, thankfully, I skipped right through that. What did I miss?
Sounds like you and Dave Meltzer like to skip over the Mercedes Moné segments. Very interesting. A good brawl. They did like a. They were in different rooms doing a promo against each other, and then they just had enough and they ran towards each other and started fighting, and not bad.
I've had enough. I've had all I can stand. I can't stand no more. I did see Kevin Knight's latest attempt to murder Darby Allin. I know that people think, Cornette is too... not even behind the times, but he's too logical with this. But explain to me, Brian, why that I should care that you're beating somebody up with a suplex or a coast-to-coast drop kick after they've been electrocuted and incinerated. Why am I supposed to care? Darby Allin comes out on the stage, Kevin Knight's in the ring, and as Darby comes out on the stage, some way or another now, instead of Darby leaving improvised explosive devices for people to find and blow themselves up, now Kevin Knight has gotten to the pyro people. And when Darby is on the stage and Kevin Knight's ready, he blew Darby up in the pyro. So he was either electrocuted or incinerated. There were sparks flying. There was smoke. I don't know what the fuck the manner of transmission was. And then he goes and gets Darby and brings him to the ring and beats him up. When they do executions in Old Sparky down in Florida, after they fry the fucking guy, do they take him out in the prison exercise yard and beat him with a stick? Help me.
I can't explain the Darby mindset. Obviously, this gave him a chance to be blown up on TV. He's probably been looking for that opportunity for a while. For AEW, they're treating Kevin Knight as a serious heel. So that's progress.
An attempted murderer. That's pretty fucking serious.
Hey, listen, in AEW, we've had people almost suffocated. We've had houses burned down, babies harassed.
Well, but now, to be fair, the house was empty. So that was only a property crime.
Well, I have nothing to add to the Darby. I have nothing to add to the Darby Kevin Knight angle. I saw the fan cam footage. It looked pretty good where he got blown up and he rolled down the ramp for a second and the camera guy ran up to see if he was okay. And of course he was okay. It's Darby Allin.
Yeah, he's okay.
It's going to stink one day when he dies. Like, Darby Allin got a bug bite. And, but hopefully he lives a long life.
Darby Allin dead at 32 from eating poisoned blueberries. Well, then we were ready for our main event. I wasn't ready for it. I didn't watch the goddamn match. I'll tell you that, because this was in the overrun that ran over the overrun. But it was Kenny.
And let me just say, for all the arguments that AEW fans or wrestling fans should know to set the DVR for the next program, even if you did that, it wouldn't have worked. You would have still. Yeah,
now you set it the whole night. Just set and record everything on the fucking network all night. That way you'll be safe. Kenny and his friends, the Buckaroos, teamed up against 3 more members of the Callis family of Davis, Doyle, and Clown, El Clown.
I really thought they had a chance here.
Yeah, it was close. But of course, the baby faces win, or the baby faces. Here's the Kenny, earlier he was a heel and a prick talking to Ospreay, and he even, on the way out of the sit down, mentioned Ospreay's son, but he just said, "When your son will be," you couldn't hear what he said. It's not like he said, "And I'm going to, beat your son up and hang him from a cliff," or, it wasn't even detrimental. You couldn't hear what the fuck. But nevertheless, the rest of the Callis guys come out to attack the baby faces, but Edge and Christian come out and make a save. But the Buckaroos accidentally super kick Cage, so that they all get in a fucking deal, and everybody fights off except for Kenny. Conveniently enough, he's still in the ring. When Ospreay comes out, and now that Kenny's been a heel in the earlier segment with Ospreay, now he's been a babyface in this match with the Buckaroos against the other heels. Now Ospreay comes out, and when Kenny's already had a match, and in front of everybody says, "Now I want to ask you, what do you mean talking about my family? Why did you mention my son, bruv?" And Kenny then turns into a goddamn full heel. He calls security. He says, "I've got nothing to say to you except get out of my arena or get out of my building or whatever. Security, take him out of here." And the security comes out, and Kenny is talking in a weird accent and doing a super villain laugh. Suddenly, he's gone from the peacemaker who's level-headed and trying to get everybody to see things in a calm fashion to a goddamn Batman villain cackling, or maybe James Bond. Sounded like Dr. No. So then Osprey says, I'm going to kick your ass. And he tackles Kenny, but security pulls him off. And while security is, and these two security guys are goddamn, they would get carded to buy Kool-Aid. They look like they're 18 years old and there's two of them. They're holding Osprey, and Kenny levels Osprey out from between them and then grabs the security guys and throws them. It doesn't hit them. Just grabbed them and threw them out of the ring, and you never see them again. Apparently, it was a glue trap like they catch mice with on the floor, and when they landed, they stuck. They couldn't even stand up. And then, while he's doing the cackling and talking in the weird fashion, he grabs Osprey and gives him the one-winged fairy off the apron through a table to the floor, and then has some type of nervous breakdown, laughing and screaming in a villainous manner about the whole thing. What the 2 weeks ago, Kenny was normal. Now Kenny has become a goddamn DC Comics supervillain. What the fuck is happening?
Again, a weird guy who does weird things. I can't explain how they've made Osprey so unappealing in this, and how they've made Kenny Omega just like you said, a wacky cartoon villain. Obviously, they're setting up. It would seem obvious that they're setting up for Osprey to be the one. I've been saying it for a little while now, but again, the big thing here, to kick out of the one-winged angel, which no one has done at Wembley. Do we really think that this is selling more tickets or buys than if it was just, I don't know, a normal build to a match? Just the sit-down segment was one of the worst things I've ever seen earlier this episode. Will Ospreay was on 3 different times on this episode, in 3 different hours. I just don't think they're helping him very much right now. And the match will be great, and Wembley will do just fine. Really good, all things considered.
You think it would have done better if they weren't on television? I think it is incredibly enough.
I think if they would have announced Ospreay Omega, and either Ospreay or Omega weren't on TV from that point until Wembley, it would do just the same as them doing all these angles and stuff. If just one guy was on the show doing promos and one guy was working matches and the other guy wasn't around at all, I don't think it would make any difference.
I got to be honest with you. I think that if they had no television at all, it would help. Because if these people like to see these matches on these pay-per-views, then they wouldn't have to watch the television, and it wouldn't turn people off to the pay-per-view or to the talent or whatever. They could just watch the big match and not have to sit through the people that they might like being a bunch of fucking douchebags.
Hey, listen, we were led to believe that early on, before Dynamite in 2019, when they were already doing pay-per-views, that the pay-per-views were already doing good. With no TV, with just YouTube stuff. So who knows? But I don't think the angles they do help in the traditional way that angles were supposed to help sell tickets. I don't think the matches or the promos are helping. Or probably, I mean, I can't say they're not hurting, but again, I just don't think that's the way AEW is built. I think it's a personal Tony Khan thing, and it just so happens that people like some of the matches he puts together, but the TV, the angles, the build, it's always lacking. And we're not even, I mean, again, the idea they're doing this big angle here, that they were building up all show. Ospreay was in the first match on the show. They did that thing with him and Omega in the middle of the show. And now here at the end, this was the overrun of the overrun. If you set your DVR to record Impractical Jokers or whatever, you miss this. You miss this. And I don't understand the logic in that. You could have done this at 9:45 and just had all three things within the 2-hour window, and then the overrun could be Tony's love matches or whatever the fuck he's doing. That's the thing that just baffles me. Even if you like the promos and the angles they're doing, how does it not hurt? Or even, let me put it differently, how does it help to do that in the overrun of the overrun? In what world is that a good, effective way of putting the show together or formatting it? I've not heard a single person defend it, but I haven't heard Tony Khan asked about it either. I'd like to hear him defend it at some point.
Well, I'm sure that somebody's asked Uncle Dave and he's defended it. We just haven't been able to muddle through his verbal effluvia that he puts out to find that specific thing. But
Dave Meltzer, who doesn't have time to watch a Mercedes Moné match, but has time to fight all day with random people on Twitter all day, and not one word answers, but paragraphs in response to people. What the fuck?
Well, people got to learn. That's the thing. People got to learn.
That fucking hair dye went to his brain. But that was AEW Dynamite, Jim.
That certainly was. And this brings up the question of, now that we're only about a week or so out, what the hell are they doing at Wembley Stadium?
Well, this is it, the big show for AEW for the year. AEW All In London 2026 at Wembley Stadium. We have the card as it's announced so far, and of course, this being Tony Khan and AEW, I would expect another 5 matches or so added in the next week.
Well, yeah, he's got a whole week.
I will guess that they will add matches Friday into Saturday morning. It's always last minute shit, but here we go.
Well, now there's one good positive thing. On this pay-per-view, they got a curfew in London, baby. Londinium, that magic city, has from what I understand, at least, maybe it's Sunday night, maybe whatever, but they got to finish whatever goes on in that stadium by 10:30 London time. And that means, besides the fact that it's going to be in the afternoon to us normal time zone dwellers, they're not going to be able to have a fucking 6-hour goddamn show because they legally have to leave the arena. I wish they would put that in place everywhere in all 50 states, but that's going to compress things a little bit.
Should Tony spend a whole lot of money and get Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to do an angle? They're moving back to England. They're not a part of the royal caravan anymore. They need work. They need money. Tony can give them a few $1 million, and have them do something stupid. Push Kevin Knight off this. Kick this guy in the balls. Whatever it is. Is it worth it?
I don't know. I think Megan would be the heel, though, wouldn't she? People don't like her.
No, I don't think anyone really likes her. It doesn't seem like it does. It seems like she's one of the more unlikable people out there, actually. So she'd be perfect.
But so far, she ain't advertised.
All right, Jim. Well, let's go to the card as advertised so far. There will be a multi-trios match for the AEW World Trios Championship, in which Hangman Adam Page and Brodito will wrestle a to-be-determined team.
Good Lord.
Or teams. It's a multi-trios match, so I guess multiple trios teams. You thought multi-man matches are bad. Multi-man trio matches, that'll be something. For the International Championship, Kyle Fletcher, the champion, versus Konosuke Takeshita versus Kazuchika Okada.
Oh, good Lord. I didn't realize that was a 3-way too. Truthfully, Kyle and Take a Shit could probably do something. And if they stayed in the ring and left the furniture alone, they're very athletic. Okada is going to ruin everything. That lazy piece of shit. Boring motherfucker. Worthless, paycheck stealing son of a bitch.
He always says nice things about you. You have a prediction for the match.
Yeah. Okada's going to ruin the whole goddamn thing because he's lame and the shits, and I ain't going to watch it. Because I don't have time to watch somebody piss on the wrestling business as bad as he does, taking this poor billionaire boy child's money to do the worst fucking performance and the worst effort in the history of fucking wrestling.
Well, his contract is up next year. Let's see what happens. But
thank fucking God.
Who do you think will win?
I'll chip in to not renew it. Think we could raise a goddamn contributions to send Okada home?
No, Tony.
Kyle better win because he's the only money ball player in this fucking equation.
I'm going to go with Takeshita.
His time, when he first came in, he had a look and he was different and he was working hard. And now he's been around forever and he can't fucking talk and he looks the same and he's not changed anything. So who gives a shit?
All right. This is a great preview so far. Jim, Falls Count Anywhere for the TNT Championship. The champion Kevin Knight versus Darby Allin.
Well, I wonder what the laws are against electrocution and immolation in England. I don't think that Kevin Knight can beat him if he can't electrocute him or set him on fire. So I say Knight retains.
All right. For the AEW World Women's Tag Team Championship, Jim, the champions Divine Dominion, Lena Cross and Megan Bayne, versus the Brawling Birds, Alex Windsor and Jamie Hayter.
Well, I think it would probably make the Brawling Birds happy since one or both of them is English, I think, aren't they? Yes, both of them.
Both of them.
So they'll win because it's their home country and everybody wants the fans to have a good time and feel good. And who gives a shit anyway? Because it's a bunch of girls that can't fucking work.
All right. There's a prediction there. Jim, we don't have the exact participants, but the finals of the Continental Challenge Cup, which will be to be determined against to be determined.
Moxley will choke somebody out in the most boring fashion in the middle of the ring after they've had a 20-minute fake match.
All right, Jim has Moxley over to be determined. Jim, in a casino gauntlet match for a future world championship match, Andrade El Idolo versus MJF versus Tommaso Ciampa versus participants to be announced.
The whole idea is the MJF and Andrade issue, angle, whatever. They're going to be number 1 and number 2. Hopefully it will end before they get to number 18, 19, or 20. I mean, again, MJF, who gives a shit about Andrade? Who wants to see him wrestle for the world title because he might win it? And then we'd have a world champion that dressed like a cab driver and couldn't speak English or Spanish. He's just a mush-mouthed piece of shit. So put MJF over and let's get him back in the title picture where at least we can have a goddamn coherent world title match. I am so fed up with these cosplay fucking pretend wannabe fake fucking wrestlers.
I'm going to pick Andrade unless, if MJF's hurt still, I'm going to pick Andrade, and if MJF's not hurt, I'm going to pick MJF. Jim, for the World Tag Team Championship.
Why would Andrade's a babyface? Why would we want to see Andrade against Ospreay?
Why would we want to see any of this?
And then we would have to have subtitles on both parts for their interviews.
Jim, for the Tag Team Championship, the champions Cage and Cope, the team of Cape, versus the Young Bucks. A reminder, FTR, when they announced they were taking a sabbatical, also announced that they were going to be in London the day before this event.
Yeah, but I guarantee you they won't be there because people would like it if they were there. So, of course, they won't be because this whole thing is fucked up. I think the Buckaroos have to win, don't they? Because this is the big match to determine the alleged greatest tag team of all time in their minds. And ultimately, the Buckaroos are going to have to pull the EVP card on that one, aren't they? But it's just a combined age of 107 against a combined weight of 42. And we get to see another Buckaroos match, same as it ever was.
That's right. No rules, no tags. The referee is Rick Knox. He stands there with his hand on his head. They can't work a match unless they have no rules because they're not creative. Jim, for the AEW Women's World Championship, the champion Willow Nightingale versus Mercedes Moné.
Willow should beat her flat right in the middle of the ring. Mercedes Moné, for all the money that she got, has been a complete flop. Her interviews are dreck. Her matches are caca. She's a fake actress and a self-absorbed bitch. And Willow, the people like her. She's got some oomph. She's new. She's fresh. And she got over. Beat Mercedes, send her packing, and give Willow Mercedes' money because she's worth more. How about that?
All right, that's a rather bold prediction. Jim, one final match so far announced. For the AEW World Championship, the champion Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay.
The way that they've been going the past couple of weeks, I thought they were going to tell the story afterwards when Ospreay ends up kicking out of the one-winged angel and beating Kenny in some fashion, that Kenny would come out and say, this was all part of my plan. I won the world title, but I realized that my body just can't hold up to the strain of the constant challenges. And I knew that, Will, you needed a better path than listening to Moxley and those fucking guys. So I have been needling you to bring out the best in you to fucking make sure that AEW is in good hands after I go to the old folks' home. And it was all on purpose to make you the best you can be, Willie. And I'm going to hug you and kiss you and tickle your taint. But after the last week or two, when now he's the cackling Batman villain calling Ospreay names and just acting completely out of character, like he's had another one of his psychotic breaks. He doesn't usually have those on camera, but in this case, he has. How are you going to explain that? This has gone past just, I'm trying to needle you for your own good to get you fired up. So now what is Kenny just, after he gets beat and he comes back on TV, whenever that is, he's just the same friendly guy he used to be? Then why has he been acting like this? Obviously, Ospreay's winning. If Ospreay doesn't win, they'll set the seats on fire. And I would love to see that. So I'd actually like to fucking hope it's going to be Kenny fucking him in the worst way possible.
I disagree. I think if Ospreay lost, they wouldn't set the seats on fire because they're not that invested in him. They'd be upset and go home disappointed. But
yeah, you may be right.
I don't think we would see that. This isn't Inoki losing to Vader, you know?
Yeah, they haven't got anybody emotionally invested in anything to that extent to actually create havoc.
Well, Jim, that's All In 2026 next weekend, and we will be watching it and reviewing it. And this is your show.
And that's All In for AEW, and we are all out of time. So join us on the drive-thru, and we'll talk about more things and the experience next week and even more things and all kinds of things after that. But until then, these things are done. Thank you, fuck you, and bye-bye, everybody.